Chapter 2667. Someone familiar just like the black-clothed girl. Those three people were also from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. They were the black-clothed girl's three senior brothers who were much stronger than the black-clothed girl in terms of cultivation realms and overall strength. Among the black-clothed girl's three senior brothers, two Peak Earth Ultimate Gods had already taken action against the Sacred Palace's Peak Earth Ultimate Gods. The Sacred Palace disciples had no room for struggle and were not a match to the both of them. They were frustrated and angry from their incapability, but could only hold back their emotions. They were secretly sighing in their hearts. They were also geniuses from the Sacred Palace, but the geniuses recruited by Dragon Phoenix Pavilion from all over the 9 realms of Golden Crows were much stronger. Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's talented disciples were not only better in terms of their overall strength but also in other aspects. What are the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples doing here at Sacred Palace? Are they here just to show off their talents and strength? Who knows? We aren't the one who invited them to come anyway. I heard that the people from Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had taken the initiative to visit Sacred Palace and paid a price to gather Sacred Palace disciples at the Spacetime Palace. The Palace Keeper must have agreed to us disciples learning from each other, as he wanted the talented disciples from Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to show us a thing or two so we know how far behind we are and quit being arrogant. Did the Palace Keeper do that? Many of the Sacred Palace disciples were secretly passing comments as they felt the bitterness in their hearts. It was true that those Sacred Palace disciples were arrogant, as they had always thought of themselves as geniuses. However, they were nobodies in the face of those Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples. The failure would probably teach them a lesson not to be complacent in the future. The black-clothed girl made her way to her 3 senior brothers. "They are too weak, so there's no point in fighting against them," said the black-clothed girl in disappointment. "Haha, I've told you not to have too high hopes." A young man with red hair smiled. If the Crimson Stone Fort had not fallen to their current state, the potential of their geniuses could be extremely high. Even though they might not be as good as us, the gap should not be so ridiculously wide. However, the level of Sacred Palace concentration camp's geniuses are no longer on par with us. Indeed, I heard some elders in the attic mention that Sacred Palace is no longer what it used to be after the fall of Crimson Stone Saint. It'll probably take a lot of luck and a long time for them to cultivate a truly presentable genius, as they haven't had any in the last 1,000 years, said another handsome young man with a half-moon-like face. "We've already fought these Sacred Palace disciples per the Palace Keeper Sijin's requirements and have achieved what we wanted. There's no need to waste time with them. Let's go to the Spacetime Palace now." Among the many cultivation places within the Sacred Palace, only the Spacetime Beast inside the Spacetime Palace could be helpful to us, said a cold voice. It was the burly man at the back with a dark golden stone staff on his back. "Yes, Senior Brother Tian Xan." The black-clothed girl along with the other 2 Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples immediately nodded when the burly man spoke, no longer dared to talk anymore. Those people from Dragon Phoenix Pavilion soon went straight to the Spacetime Palace, led by the experts from Sacred Palace. Jianghu Shuang sat cross-legged under the Spacetime Beast with a regretful look. What a pity. Although the Spacetime Beast is amazing, its evolution in Spacetime Law had only reached the early stage of its strangulation power. My current Spacetime Law understanding is already at this level. It'll only allow me to be more familiar with the Spacetime Law if I continue doing this, and that's not much use to me. Jian Wushuang quickly walked out of the Spacetime Palace after shaking his head. As he stepped out of the Spacetime Palace, Jian Wushuang coincidentally bumped into the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples who were walking toward him. Many disciples as well as Sacred Palace experts were following behind the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples. So many people? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples had also noticed Jian Wushuang. "It's him." A low voice suddenly came from the black-clothed girl among the 4 Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples. This black-clothed girl, who ravaged many high-level Earth Ultimate God disciples from Sacred Palace in the battle earlier, was powerful and had treated the other Sacred Palace disciples condescendingly, but she was stunned to see Jian Wushuang. Her eyes became extremely solemn while she stared closely at Jian Wushuang. "Oh, someone familiar?" Jian Wushuang also noticed the black-clothed girl as the corner of his mouth curled up. That was not the first time he saw the black-clothed girl, as they had even fought against each other before. He recalled that the other party had shown some extraordinary techniques and even brought him a little pressure, hence the black-clothed girl was rather memorable to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang later learned that the black-clothed girl was a Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciple. "Junior sister, do you know this person?" The red-haired young man next to her looked over. "Of course I do. The black-clothed girl's voice became low. The three of you should have heard me talking about him before. I went on a mission to an ordinary stellar region decades ago while still a primary-level ultimate god and fought against a similarly ranked genius before being defeated. I heard you mention this before. Could he be the one? The red-haired young man immediately turned his gaze to Jian Wushuang. The handsome young man with the half-moon face and even the cold-looking burly man Tian Xen also shot a glance at Jian Wushuang. That's him. The black-clothed girl was the fifth opponent Jian Wushuang encountered during the Blood Gladiator Challenge on the northern Darkstar continent. The ancient witch said in a low voice, I was defeated by his shocking strength decades ago and haven't seen him for decades. I didn't expect him to be at the Sacred Palace. He seems to be one of the Sacred Palace disciples in his cultivation realm. He made a breakthrough at a faster pace than me? The ancient witch was a little horrified when she noticed that. She was the much-loved Dragon Phoenix Pavilion princess with a powerful master guiding her alongside a steady supply of resources for self-improvement. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang had to collect a large number of primordial stones and divine elixir pills to improve his divine power, while the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion paid a great price to construct a divine power fountain. Chapter 2668. The stakes. The divine power fountain in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion contained unlimited divine power, allowing her to achieve high-level Earth Ultimate God from primary-level Ultimate God within a short period of 10 years because it obviously had a lot to do with her being talented and fast at understanding the laws and principles. However, the ancient witch did not expect Jian Wushuang's realm cultivation to not only be comparable with her but was even at an entire realm higher. She could feel Jian Wushuang's divine power that had obviously achieved peak-level Earth Ultimate God. How did he cultivate? The ancient witch directly rushed forward with a slight doubtfulness. Jenny, we meet again. The ancient witch spoke in a cold and slightly unfriendly voice. This is quite a coincidence. Who knew I'll bump into you here at the Sacred Palace? Jian Wushuang was also quite surprised as he knew the ancient witch's identity. The heavenly pride of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion actually came to this Sacred Palace? The ancient witch had a cold look in her eyes. Humph, did you remember what I've previously said? I ask that you don't bump into me again or I'll definitely get you back next time and win. I finally met you today. There's nothing else apart from fighting me. Fight against you? Are you sure? Jian Wushuang had an interesting smile as he unscrupulously emitted his peak Earth Ultimate God divine power. His divine power was obviously one whole level stronger than the ancient witch. The ancient witch's face darkened and immediately shouted in a low voice, if you are considerate, you'll only use the high-level Earth Ultimate God's divine power similar to mine. Let's decide our victory based on our law's perception and principles understanding. What do you think? Jian Wushuang's facial expression grew weirder as he heard that. The Sacred Palace disciples were also behaving extremely weirdly. Who's this? Is he also a disciple of our Sacred Palace? Why haven't we met him before? Yes, he's also a Sacred Palace disciple who entered via the Sacred Heaven Road 9 years ago. I heard rumors that he's very talented but has always been in seclusion and seldom shows himself ever since entering the Sacred Palace. I wonder why he came out today. He seems to be an old acquaintance of the ancient witch who has proactively challenged him. Sounds of chatter started surrounding them one by one. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. It's not every day the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's heavenly pride proactively challenges somebody. There's no reason for me not to accept this challenge. We shall follow your suggestion and I'll only fight against you using the high-level Earth Ultimate God's divine power. However, it doesn't seem interesting if we fight for nothing. Why don't we bet on something? Bet on something? A gamble fight? The ancient witch narrowed her eyes. The Sacred Palace disciples had surprised expressions on their faces. He actually brought up a gamble fight when he's fighting against the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciple? This Jenny is really daring. He must plucked his courage from the skies. Although he's a peak-level Earth Ultimate God, the perception of the laws and understanding principles aren't differentiated by realms or levels. Although the ancient witch is only at the high-level Earth Ultimate God, you can see that her law's perception and principles understanding is almost as good as a Heaven Ultimate God based on her actions. He must be suicidal to fight her. He brought up the gamble fight? Oh my God. All the Sacred Palace disciples felt that Jian Wushuang was extremely daring. The other heavenly prides of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion speechlessly looked at each other while smiling. They obviously were thinking the same as the Sacred Palace disciples. The ancient witch had her gaze set on Jian Wushuang. This Jenny? He was able to defeat me in the previous fight because of his much stronger divine power than mine. However, his law perception and principles understanding weren't stronger than mine, as he didn't even have a clue about the principal world back then. His combat power might be stronger now that he has achieved peak Earth Ultimate God, but his only advantage will be his divine power. Divine power aside, he definitely won't be my opponent based on his law's perception and principles understanding alone. The Ancient Witch was extremely confident. She was a genius. What did it mean by being a genius in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Speedy level-ups in realms and cultivation meant nothing. A real genius would have scary improvements in law perception and principles understanding. Jianghu Shuang could not be considered a true genius yet in her opinion. The Ancient Witch asked, "Jianyi, what do you want to bet on? I know that you're from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and every Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciple is from rich families. Let's bet on divine elixir pills since you're rich," said Jianghu Shuang. The Ancient Witch directly said, "Divine elixir pills? Not a problem, how many do you want to bet?" "Not much, 100 pills," said Jianghu Shuang without much care. "What?" The Ancient Witch was stunned. The Sacred Palace experts and those disciples around them were also shocked. Even the three prides of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion also glanced at Jianghu Shuang in surprise. 100 divine elixir pills? Those were divine elixir pills and not primordial stones. One divine elixir pill was equal to 5 million primordial stones in the market using the simplest calculations. 100 divine elixir pills would be 500 million primordial stones. This was only using a simple calculation, and 100 divine elixir pills were definitely valued more than such. Jian Yi stood in front of her and just mentioned betting 100 divine elixir pills without any hesitation. How were 100 divine elixir pills a small amount? What? The heavenly pride of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion can't even come up with 100 divine elixir pills? Jianghu Shuang said with a smile. No, it's just that. The Ancient Witch had a tight frown on her face. She was capable of coming up with 100 divine elixir pills, but that would be her entire savings. Apart from that, she would need to exchange it with some really special precious items, not to mention that she only had a dozen with her right now. At that moment, Junior, the red-haired young man from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, looked over. It's only 100 divine elixir pills. Just focus on fighting him. All three of your senior brothers will help gather these 100 divine elixir pills if you lose. Apart from divine power, how is it possible for you to lose to a Sacred Palace disciple with your abilities? The Ancient Witch was stunned before nodding. That's right. There's a difference between our divine power in the previous fight, but this time, I won't lose for sure. I'll bet with 100 divine elixir pills. Jianghu Shuang had a weird smile when he saw the Ancient Witch agreeing to his terms. If that's the case, let's start. Humph. The Ancient Witch humphed softly and immediately made her move without any hesitation. Rumbling. It could be seen that a huge principal world was directly forced towards Jianghu Shuang. The Ancient Witch had activated her principal world when she was at the primary level Ultimate God. Her principal world grew increasingly stronger as her principal's understanding was elevated, which resulted in her current extremely powerful 30,000 kilometers principal world. Chapter 2669. Winning, she has succeeded in reaching the profound achievement principal world. Jianghu Shuang raised his eyebrows. In the Danyang Holy Domain, only some powerful peak Earth Ultimate Gods had achieved profound achievement in their principal worlds. Although the Ancient Witch was just at the Earth high-level Ultimate God, she was the heavenly pride of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It was impossible for her not to achieve it. The overpowering principal world repressed against Jianghu Shuang, who did not immediately activate his sword world to contend against it. He stood there in silence as the Ancient Witch disappeared in the darkness. Whoosh! A wave of strong wind came from the back of Jianghu Shuang as the space behind him seemed to distort and open before a black spear came flying towards him like an awakened dragon, along with an outburst of frightening power. Jianghu Shuang slightly moved his body as the black spear flew past him and swept past the side of his clothes. However, the Ancient Witch waved her hand before slightly moving her body, which resulted in forming hundreds of her apparitions before all of them concurrently rushed towards Jianghu Shuang. The Ancient Witch had meditated on both the dark and space-time law, hence her dark law understanding was quite defined while that of the space-time was just ordinary. She had come to the space-time palace to raise her insights towards space-time law. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The cold spears continuously pierced towards Jianghu Shuang with shocking power, while Jianghu Shuang fluttered his body freely like an erratic cloud. B*****, I dare you not to move. The Ancient Witch shouted softly. Jianghu Shuang mocked. Ha! You are too slow. He did not make any moves and only fluttered in the sky at his speed. This had already caused the Ancient Witch's attacks to fail at reaching him. The ancient witch failed to bump or even touch Jian Wushuang for a long period as Jian Wushuang evaded her attacks. This made the ancient witch extremely angry. At this moment, Jian Wushuang made a sudden move. He took the opportunity and rushed toward her when the ancient witch retracted her spears. He only used his finger as his sword and a raw sword light directly hit the ancient witch's body without any obstruction. This attack was unable to hurt the ancient witch as she had defensive measures on top of wearing defensive armor underneath her clothes. However, she still turned pale. "You've lost." Jian Wushuang slowly spoke. The ancient witch slightly trembled and held her fists tightly with her nails already dug into her flesh. She had lost, she had really lost. She had completely lost without any grounds to struggle and fight back. There was a huge gap in their differences. Spacetime law, this guy has an extremely high understanding of spacetime law. The ancient witch looked upwards and stared at Jian Wushuang. She was not the only one. Her three other seniors were also staring at Jian Wushuang at this moment. All of them saw the battle. Jian Wushuang had only evaded the ancient witch's attacks with his speed from the beginning. The ancient witch was really strong with powerful means with her spear movements speedy and extremely powerful. However, it did not matter how powerful her spear movements were as it was useless as long as she could not touch her opponent. Jianyi moved too fast. He easily defeated the ancient witch with his absolute speed in this fight. The Sacred Palace experts and disciples standing around the fighting area were also slightly stunned. He won. He won over one of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's heavenly pride? He moves too fast and has a high-level understanding of spacetime law. No wonder he dared to proactively make a gamble. Turns out he's confident he'll win. Who knew there's a genius with such a high understanding of spacetime law in our Sacred Palace? The Sacred Palace disciples were all sighing. They previously felt that Jian Wushuang was extremely arrogant when he proactively requested a gamble fight and made a bet of 100 divine elixir pills. However, the situation at that moment. Jian Wushuang had kicked everybody's asses with his actions. 100 divine elixir pills. Jian Wushuang looked at the ancient witch with a smile on his face while stretching his right hand out. The ancient witch gritted her teeth and was about to take those pills out and give Jian Wushuang when. "Let's not be in a hurry." The voice of someone speaking was heard before the red-haired young man who was one of the ancient witch's seniors slowly walked forward. He arrived in front of the ancient witch and comforted her. "Junior, both victory and defeat are normal during battles, especially when Jianyi has a higher peak Earth Ultimate God realm compared to you. He still has great natural advantages even though he did not use his peak Earth Ultimate God's divine power. It's normal for you to lose, so there's no need to be caught up by this." The ancient witch slightly nodded. Although she was unable to resign over her failure, she should not be defeated after only losing twice to Jianyi. Her name, which had mentioned a lot about her character and style of handling matters. The red-haired man looked towards Jian Wushuang after comforting the ancient witch. "You're Jianyi? My name is Leng Xing and am also a Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciple. Are you also interested in carrying out a gamble fight with me?" Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. "Of course, I cannot pretend it's nothing when I see my junior is being bullied as her senior brother," said Leng Xing. "We can carry out another gamble fight, but you need to give me the 100 divine elixir pills first," said Jian Wushuang directly. "I'm a Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciple. Do you think I'll refuse to give you some pills?" Leng Xing's facial expression darkened. "That's difficult to say," said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Leng Xing was speechless and could only flip his hand to come up with some divine elixir pills. He gathered the pills alongside the ancient witch before passing 100 of them to Jian Wushuang. "Not bad." Jian Wushuang smiled in satisfaction when he took over the 100 divine elixir pills before glancing at Leng Xing with a growing smile on his face. "You are the senior brother of the ancient witch and also a peak Earth Ultimate God. I'm sure you're much stronger than the ancient witch and richer. Why don't we increase our bet slightly for this fight to 200 divine elixir pills?" 200 divine elixir pills? The corners of Leng Xing's mouth trembled uncontrollably. It was true that he was a heavenly pride of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and not to mention the fact that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was extremely rich. However, divine elixir pills were not like primordial stones that could be easily obtained. He could not come up with 200 pills even after adding up everything he had. "All right, I agree." Leng Xing directly nodded. The ancient witch looked at him and softly said, "Senior brother Leng Xing, Jianyi is quite strong and has an extremely high understanding of spacetime law. Apart from that, he easily defeated me without using his principal world during our fight just now. He showed divine power far stronger than his level when I was defeated by him, hence you cannot look down at him." This gamble fight. Chapter 2670. Ravaged. The ancient witch originally planned to advise Leng Xing so that he would not simply carry out a gamble fight with Jian Wushuang. She felt that Jian Wushuang's strength was slightly unpredictable on top of being too confident. He had something to rely on as he dared proactively raise a gamble fight with such huge bets even though he knew they were heavenly prides of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. However, Leng Xing waved his hand before she could finish speaking and said, "Junior sister ancient, you seem to be looking down at me. Please don't forget that I'm one of the top 5 peak Earth ultimate gods in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Do you think this Jian Wushuang can be one of the top 5 peak Earth ultimate gods geniuses in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion?" The ancient witch was stunned and slightly frowned but did not continue to speak. "I agree to 200 divine elixir pills. Jenny, the both of us are peak Earth ultimate gods, so there's no need to reserve your divine power. Just show us all your skills," shouted Leng Xing as his body suddenly trembled. A total of 700 apparitions appeared at the same time. Leng Xing had quite a strong understanding of spacetime law even among the heaven ultimate god, as he could cultivate as many as 700 apparitions at the same time. It was no wonder he was so confident. Apart from his spacetime law understanding, his principal world had also opened up to the size of 30,000 kilometers with powers much stronger than the ancient witches. His weapon was the battle saber, which he handled in an extremely fast manner. The combat power he showed at that exact moment was extremely surprising. The surrounding Sacred Palace disciples looked at him in horror, as Leng Xing was only a peak Earth ultimate god, but his combat prowess was comparable to those primary level heaven ultimate god in the eyes of those Sacred Palace disciples. Would Jian Yi be an opponent to Leng Xing, who had such horrifying power? Everybody was wondering at the bottom of their hearts, but what happened next exceeded their expectations. Jian Wushuang slightly took action after Leng Xing activated his combat power. He also activated his 800 apparitions, 100 more than Leng Xing, to appear at that moment. He also released his profound achievement Sword World, but he did not display his full strength. The Sword World power he displayed was less than 50%, but this 50% was enough to suppress Leng Xing's speed in his principal world. Apart from that, his Blood Mountain sword had appeared in his hand as he displayed his sword principle. He used the tactic of stopping speed with greater speed as he handled his sword faster than Leng Xing's saber handling ways. In terms of divine power, Jian Wushuang's explosive divine power was stronger than Leng Xing's. Law understanding, principal world, sword skill, saber skill, and divine power. Leng Xing was completely suppressed by Jian Wushuang in every aspect. Everything ended with Leng Xing being completely ravaged by Jian Wushuang without being able to fight back much. It was a one-sided complete ravage. Although Leng Xing tried all sorts of ways as though he had gone crazy, everything was useless when faced with overwhelming strength. The Sacred Palace disciples were slightly stunned when they saw that. They had never imagined a Sacred Palace disciple would be able to ravage a similarly leveled Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's heavenly pride to that extent. It was truly miserable. The facial expressions of those 3 Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples who were standing at the battlefield's edge slightly darkened. They initially did not pay much attention to the Sacred Palace disciples, but one of them was completely ravaged by the other party in a blink of an eye. "I have already said that Jian Yi is extremely strong," said the ancient witch coldly. A while later, the completely one-sided battle and ravaged situation had finally ended. The person who won was naturally Jian Wushuang. As for Leng Xing, he was initially very irritable and extremely angry, but soon became extremely obedient after a round of being ravaged, such that he even started to be frightened of Jian Wushuang. This was the first time he was ravaged by a similarly leveled peak Earth ultimate god. Even the other 4 peak Earth ultimate gods at the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion were not much stronger than him despite being positioned higher than him. It was impossible for them to so easily ravage him. However, Jian Wushuang managed to do so. It meant that Jian Wushuang would have been the first ranked among those peak Earth ultimate gods in their pavilion if he went to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. "You're Leng Xing, right? 200 divine elixir pills." Jian Wushuang fixed his gaze on Leng Xing with a smile on his face, but with his right hand already stretched out. The corners of Leng Xing's mouth slightly twitched. Although he was extremely unwilling, he still took a batch of pills and several special treasures of the equal value out from his interspatial ring. "There's only so little divine elixir pills?" Jian Wushuang pursed his mouth. He was not interested in those special treasures, as he would only sell them at the star-picking pavilion the moment he got them. He wanted ready-made divine elixir pills, as the treasure's value would be hugely discounted if he exchanged them for those pills later on. Unfortunately, Leng Xing did not have so many pills on him, so Jian Wushuang could forcibly ask for it. Jian Wushuang focused his gaze at the remaining two heavenly prides of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion after defeating Leng Xing. The handsome teenager who was also at the peak-level Earth Heavenly God could not help but secretly tremble when he felt Jian Wushuang's gaze. This handsome teenager dared not take action if even Leng Xing was ravaged by Jian Wushuang, as he was not as strong as Leng Xing. Jian Wushuang also did not pay much attention to him and turned his gaze at the final person. This crossed-armed person with an extremely cool facial expression on his face was the burly man called Wu Xen. "Brother, I wonder if you'd like to have a gamble fight with me?" Jian Wushuang asked with a smile on his face. Everyone present was startled with the look in their eyes that slowly changed into astonishment as he spoke. If the reason Jian Wushuang dared continuously fight both the ancient witch and Leng Xing was because of his extremely powerful abilities, everyone felt he had gone completely crazy at that moment. He was certainly crazy. He dared to challenge senior brother Wu Xen? The ancient witch was also startled. He's not satisfied after continuously defeating me and junior sister ancient? Does he want to have a gamble battle with senior brother Wu Xen? Does he really think he's invincible? Leng Xing also shouted slightly softly. The handsome teen also mumbled, Is he really crazy? Wu Xen was completely different from them. The reason was not only from being more talented but the crux laid within his current realm. Boom! A strong aura exploded from the burly man, Wu Xin's body. This aura wave was extremely strong and suppressed everybody there. Apart from Jian Wushuang and a small number of Sacred Palace experts, everybody else slightly trembled under the aura's suppression. Heaven Ultimate God. Wu Xen was a true Heaven Ultimate God. He was also an extreme genius. Chapter 2671. Wu Xen. The strong wave of Heaven Ultimate God's divine power suppressed Jian Wushuang's body like a tsunami. The burly man called Wu Xin's cold staring toward Jian Wushuang with both his eyes were like two rays of explosive lightning. "Are you sure you want to challenge me?" "Definitely." Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and seemed extremely at ease under Wu Xin's suppressive aura. "How much would you like to bet?" Wu Xen asked. "My bet just now with Leng Xing was already 200 divine elixir pills. You're a Heaven Ultimate God, so your bet needs to be higher. Let's agree on 500 divine elixir pills," said Jian Wushuang. "All right, I agree." Wu Xen directly nodded. "We maintain the fight on laws and principles, understanding while I'll take note to hold back my divine power. Let's begin." Wu Xen did not waste time after he finished speaking with his extremely cold voice as his body started moving. The same situation happened as a large number of apparitions appeared. These Dragon Phoenix Pavilion heavenly prides came to the Sacred Palace because of the Spacetime Beast, as all of them had meditated on the Spacetime Law. It was without a doubt that Wu Xen had the highest understanding among them in Spacetime Law. The apparitions that concurrently appeared overwhelmingly blotted out the entire void and ground, as Wu Xen had conjured 1,000 apparitions at that moment. 1,000 apparitions were the limit for apparitions cultivation. Achieving this step meant that Wu Xin's spacetime law understanding had reached the peak of the first stage, with his next improvement being achieving the second stage, spacetime strangulation. Such a level of understanding was definitely extremely strong among Heaven Ultimate Gods. Many peak Heaven Ultimate Gods were also unable to achieve the second stage spacetime strangulation after all. "You have quite a good understanding of spacetime law." Jian Wushuang only smiled indifferently as 1,000 apparitions also appeared, following a slight twitch of his body. A large number of apparitions filled the entire battlefield as both of them were moving at high speeds and soon clashed head-to-head with each other. Clank. Loud clanking sounds of metal on metal could be heard as the people surrounding the battlefield immediately looked towards the sound's origin, but only to see two strong divine powers fighting against each other before another loud humming sound could be heard at another void not far from that location. An Earth Ultimate God Sacred Palace disciple could not control himself and ask, "See, can you guys see where their true bodies are at?" "I can't. I can only see these apparitions while following the sounds." "I can't see them too. They're moving too fast. This is true speed. I've seen two primary level Heaven Ultimate Gods fighting, and their speeds were also extremely surprising. However, there's a huge difference between them and these two. Even if hundreds of work together, they'll only be easily killed by those two under such extreme speed. If this was a real battle, as peak Earth Ultimate Gods attacks won't be able to touch those two under such scary speed, in addition to having so many apparitions." The surrounding Sacred Palace disciples stood there in shock as they looked at Jian Wushuang and Wu Xen bumping into each other in the middle of the battlefield. However, they only saw them fighting unstoppably, with nobody capable of seeing clearly their true body's location. Sounds of exclamation naturally could be heard expanding. Even the three heavenly prides of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion were also making noises as they saw the course of events before their eyes. Two figures were slowly walking over in the void far away from the battlefield. Brother Sijun, I'm sorry for troubling you this time. A black-robed elder with eagle-like eyes was smiling softly. My Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples have met with some bottlenecks in their spacetime law understanding, and the spacetime beast in your sacred palace is quite intriguing. They must be able to learn something after meditating for 1 month in front of the spacetime beast in your sacred palace. There's no trouble at all. Brother Ting, there's no need to be so polite with me. You've paid a certain price after all. Palace Keeper Sijun was also smiling. At this moment, continuous humming noises could be heard from the void in front of them. The black-robed elder and Palace Keeper Sijun were both surprised. I specifically asked your disciples from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to take action and teach my sacred palace disciples a lesson. However, their interaction should have long finished as so much time passed. Why are they still fighting until now? Palace Keeper Sijun was slightly surprised. Let's go over and have a look, said the black-robed elder with a smile. The duo immediately increased their speed and soon arrived at the void outside the spacetime palace, only to notice the battle in front of them. Wuxian actually took action? The black-robed elder squinted his eyes when he saw the battlefield scene. The person fighting with him is a peak Earth ultimate god. However, his speed isn't any weaker than Wuxian and is equal with Wuxian in this fight? The black-robed elder asked. Palace Keeper Sijun, who's this young guy? He had no idea that Palace Keeper Sijun was slightly stunned at that moment. He definitely recognized the person fighting Wuxian, and it was none other than Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang had been training in retreat as per his knowledge. When did he come out? He knew slightly about Jian Wushuang's strength. He purposely requested those heavenly prides from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to teach the Sacred Palace disciples a lesson at that time so that his disciples would understand the limits of their abilities on top of wearing down their inner ignorance and create awareness that there were stronger people out there in the world. However, he had not previously considered these Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples would end up fighting with Jian Wushuang. Palace Keeper Sijun replied upon hearing the black-robed elder's question. This guy is Jian Yi and had just become one of the Sacred Palace's disciples. He had been keeping a low profile ever since and had been training in seclusion. I wonder why he suddenly came out from his seclusion today and got involved in the fight against these Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's people. The black-robed elder praised. Jian Yi? This youth is quite good. Although he's just a peak Earth ultimate god, his spacetime law understanding has reached the first stage's peak. He's as good as Wuxian on top of being so brilliant in swordsmanship. Brother Sijun, who would have expected you to have such a strong genius in your sacred palace? Palace Keeper Sijun could only embarrassingly smile. He has a high understanding of spacetime law but is sadly only a peak Earth ultimate god. There's still a slight difference between him and Wuxian. The black-robed elder smiled indifferently. Look, Wuxian is starting to take things seriously. Palace Keeper Sijun immediately looked over. Sure enough, the duo who were fighting furiously on the battlefield distanced themselves from each other before Wuxian took out a smaller and thinner golden-purple staff apart from the dark gold staff he initially held in his hand. This golden-purple staff had a very unique aura that was surrounded by a surging space-time law power. Chapter 2672. Another bet? That's the Evolving Sky Godly Staff? Palace Keeper Sijun squinted his eyes as he recognized the staff. There were all sorts of mystical weapons that suited various laws in the ancient god domain. The Hongjun golden sword that Jian Wushuang once controlled was a weapon suitable to be used with spacetime law. The evolving sky godly staff Wuxian presented at this moment was also suitable for spacetime law and was as well known as the Hongjun golden sword. The evolving sky godly staff immediately changed into a ray of golden purple light under Wu Xin's control as it traveled through the void toward Jian Wushuang. That ray of golden purple light traveled extremely fast, but the most crucial point was its equally strong power. Jian Wushuang waved his blood mountain sword and collided with the golden purple light twice, which forced his body to move slightly backwards after the collision. You are losing, Wuxian said with his cold voice as he stared at Jian Wushuang. He admitted that Jian Wushuang's lost perception was much stronger than himself. However, it was still within the manageable range. The golden purple ray once again attacked Jian Wushuang with even more power than before. This is interesting. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently before also waving his hand. A total of 9 black-colored infernal crimson divine swords appeared at the void in front of him and quietly floated. Go. Those 9 infernal crimson divine swords turned into 9 huge black holes upon Jian Wushuang's finger pointing before shockingly attacking the golden purple ray. They met the golden purple ray head-on within the blink of an eye and caused loud booming sounds. Clack, 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 clack. Several muffled clunking noises were heard. Although the 9 infernal crimson divine swords had the number advantage, it was still repeatedly sent flying over by the golden purple ray upon knocking into each other. It's useless. Although your 9 divine swords are quite powerful, their strength is too dispersed and not fast enough. Although I only have 1 Yantian godly staff, it's enough to entirely crush you, Wu Xan said. Really? A playful smile appeared on Jian Wushuang's face before he pointed his right hand again. Swords combine. The black holes formed from the 9 infernal crimson divine swords immediately overlapped each other as a vast reincarnation passage appeared out of nowhere. At the end of the reincarnation passage, a black divine sword covered in infinite samsara strength abruptly traveled outward. This black divine sword had a sky-high aura and was extremely fast. It once again knocked into the golden purple ray of light in the blink of an eye. Clack. It resulted in another huge explosive noise. However, the golden purple light on the evolving sky godly staff had immediately turned dull upon that collision. The golden purple light ray abruptly flew outward due to the collision while the black divine sword once again traveled outward as though it was unaffected. Clack, clack. After another 2 head-on collisions, the light on the evolving sky godly staff was almost gone as its power was reduced to almost nothing. How's this possible? Wu Xian was shocked. He had no idea that despite his evolving sky godly staff being strong, it was just a standard weapon generally found in the ancient god domain. However, the extremely strong transmigration sword formation shown by Jian Wushuang was created by Sword Lord Tong Xian. In addition, Jian Wushuang had an extremely high transmigration law understanding of having already reached the peak of the first stage and was not lower than Wu Xin's spacetime law understanding. Both were law understanding where the spacetime law was faster but its power fell short when being compared with transmigration law. The most important point was Jian Wushuang's transmigration sword formation mastery being higher with frequent usage than Wu Xin's evolving sky godly staff mastery. It was natural for Jian Wushuang's transmigration sword formation to easily crush Wu Xin's evolving sky godly staff with the combination of all those 3 points. Time for you to lose. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently before the black divine sword formed from the transmigration sword formation once again exploded outward and directly hit Wu Xin's divine body this time. Jian Wushuang naturally did not use any strength as the black divine sword did not even break Wu Xin's divine body defense. However, the results of this battle had been decided upon arriving at this point. He's lost? Senior brother Wu Xen lost? The 3 Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples stood there in disbelief. Wu Xian was one of the publicly recognized top geniuses in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion after all. His talents were sufficient for him to be in the top 10 among all those Dragon Phoenix Pavilion geniuses. In addition, his realm was 1 level higher than Jian Wushuang. How could Wu Xian still lose under such circumstances when both parties were competing in the understanding of laws and principles? Transmigration sword formation. What Jian Yi just used should be the transmigration sword formation, right? The black-robed elder stared at Jian Wushuang with electrified eyes. Yes. Palace Keeper Si Zhen nodded as he also recognized it. Congratulations to you, brother Si Zhen. It's been some time since such a clever genius appeared in your sacred palace, said the black-robed elder. I'm just lucky. Just lucky. Palace Keeper Si Zhen could only laugh. Wu Xen gritted his teeth as he stared at Jian Wushuang somberly in the void in front of them. Transmigration law. Who knew you'll have such a high understanding of the transmigration law apart from your spacetime law understanding that has reached the peak of the first stage? In addition, you have such a powerful sword formation. My loss in this battle isn't an injustice. Wu Xen was not a narrow-minded person. He admitted both his defeat and also his law understanding not being as good as Jian Wushuang even though Jian Wushuang's cultivation realm was a whole level lower than himself. Heres 500 Divine Elixir Pills. Wu Xen flipped his hand and gave Jian Wushuang an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang scanned the ring after receiving it as a calculative look flashed through his eyes. He only received less than 200 Divine Elixir Pills. Although he made bets and won against the Ancient Witch and Ling Xing during the previous 2 battles, he only received 300 pieces of Divine Elixir Pills as the rest were replaced with precious items of the same value. However, the 500 Divine Elixir Pills he received from Wu Xen were ready-made Divine Elixir Pills as Wu Xen did not use any same valued precious items to replace them. This made Jian Wushuang quite happy. Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples are really rich, mumbled Jian Wushuang and suddenly rolled his eyes as an idea emerged from the bottom of his heart. Your name is Wu Xian, right? Jian Wushuang once again looked towards Wu Xian. Yes. Wu Xian nodded. You have an extremely high understanding of the law and are really talented. You must be one of the top geniuses in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. You must be unreconciled with your loss today, as we did only competed on laws and principles understanding without showing any of our other skills after all. Why don't we make another bet? Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Another bet? Wu Xian turned and stared at Jian Wushuang. The people around them also looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. Chapter 2673. All-out Jian Wushuang had fought against 3 Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples in a row since the beginning of the gamble fight and even won against his strongest opponent, Wu Xian. He wants to fight again? Jian Yi, I admit you're a talented genius, but don't take it too far. Wu Xian coldly eyed Jian Wushuang. Haha, let's hear how well go about this gamble fight first, suggested Jian Wushuang with a faint smile. Though I've defeated you in the earlier fight, we were fighting based on the perception of laws and principles only, while you didn't even get the chance to display your true strength. Let's change the rules this time, where both of us can make our best effort without any scruples in this battle. You can fully display your divine power and various techniques. How about that? Are you asking me to do my best? Wu Xin's eyes narrowed. He had confidence in his status and abilities as Heaven Ultimate God after all. Although Jian Wushuang earlier defeated him, he had been maintaining his divine power at the peak Earth Ultimate God level while not using his many methods and techniques, purely competing based on the perception of laws. He was able to go all out without restrictions. How many divine elixir pills would you like to bet on in this battle? Wu Xian asked. We bet on 500 divine elixir pills just now, so we have to do at least 1,000 divine elixir pills this time, said Jian Wushuang in a deep voice before stretching out a finger. 1,000 divine elixir pills? He actually wanted to bet more, but he was worried betting too many divine elixir pills would scare Wu Xian off and made him reluctant to fight. Wu Xin's face sank slightly when he heard the 1,000 divine elixir pills bet and said, I can't fork out 1,000 divine elixir pills. He was telling the truth, as he had lost 500 divine elixir pills, which was all he had. It was impossible for him to further take out 1,000 divine elixir pills. However, Wu Xian, go ahead and agree with him, said a gentle voice. The black-robed old man approached alongside Palace Keeper Si Zhen. Elder Teng, Wu Xian, Ancient Witch, and Leng Xing immediately made obeisance respectfully. Palace Keeper Si Zhen. The many expert disciples of the Sacred Palace also made obeisance to the Palace Keeper Si Zhen. 1,000 divine elixir pills is nothing for the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. You just have to do your best, said the black-robed old man. Yes, Wu Xian nodded and immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. We're fine with 1,000 divine elixir pills. Let's fight. Sure, I'm ready. Jian Wushuang beckoned to Wu Xian. Anger was brewing in Wu Xin's eyes as his unbridled heavenly ultimate god divine power finally erupted. His evolving sky godly staff, which had gone dim after colliding several times with Jian Wushuang's transmigration sword formation, lit up once again with much stronger power and brightness than before. Wu Xin's divine body also began to change at the same time. He was originally the size of a normal human, but had very quickly grown and soared to nearly 5 yards tall, while his skin and hair had completely turned purple, such that even his pupils were dazzling in a strange purply luster. An inexhaustible purply divine power surrounded him, and he looked like a tall purple demon deity. This is one of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's 6 secret techniques, Purple Blood Demon Deity. Based on Wu Xin's divine power breath, he has practiced it up to the secret technique's 3rd volume. Amazing. Palace Keeper Si Zhen was admiring the purple blood demon deity that Wu Xian formed. Palace Keeper Si Zhen had seen some of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's top secret techniques. An ordinary primary level Heaven Ultimate God was usually able to practice up to the 2nd volume of the purple blood demon deity secret technique, but Wu Xian had made it to the 3rd volume, which only spoke volumes of his extraordinary talent. He was originally a primary level Heaven Ultimate God with a solid foundation and extremely powerful divine power. His combat prowess is comparable to a high-level Heaven Ultimate God now that he has turned into a purple blood demon deity, which skyrocketed his overall strength on top of coupling with his perception of space-time law and evolving sky godly staff. Palace Keeper Si Zhen said in a low voice. Wu Xen was indeed emanating a powerful divine power at that instance which obviously exceeded the powers of a primary-level heaven ultimate god. Moreover, Wuxin had also fought against a high-level heaven ultimate god before. Although he was defeated in that battle, the fight that had carried on for a long time only further proved his fighting capabilities against high-level heaven ultimate gods. He was not shocked or frightened by the 1,000 divine elixir pills that Jian Wushuang bet upon having such powerful strength as his backing. "Jenny, you're so full of yourself." Wuxin's purple eyes were extremely cold as he stared at Jian Wushuang and spoke with a loud voice. "Maybe." Jian Wushuang merely smiled faintly with a calm expression. "Humph." Wu Xen did not waste more time talking as he snorted and fiercely charged forward. Buzz. There were almost 1,000 apparitions in action once again. The 5-yard-tall purple blood demon deity apparition flooded all corners of the battlefield while the evolving sky godly staff turned into a stream of purply golden fleeting light in the battlefield center with a long tail dragging its back whilst it fiercely launched at Jian Wushuang. Wu Xian had previously only used the power of a peak earth ultimate god to perform the same method. The purple golden fleeting light's penetrating power was several fold stronger than before after he used much stronger divine power to perform the same technique. Too strong, this power is way too strong. I think such terrifying power is on par with a high-level heaven ultimate god's power. How could Jian Yi parry off the attack? He'll lose for sure. Definitely. I don't even know why Jian Yi is so courageous. How dare Jian Yi challenge Wu Xen, who is giving his all in the fight? He even bet 1,000 divine elixir pills. Many experts from the sacred palace who gathered around secretly marveled at Wu Xin's skill. All of them felt an irresistible power from the purply gold fleeting light Wu Xen displayed. Its power was extremely strong. However, Jian Wushuang merely smiled faintly when he looked at the densely packed purple blood demon deity apparitions before him and the purply gold fleeting light that came swooping down at him. With a wave of his hand. Space-time strangulation. Buzz. The world was shaken up. A huge strangling force instantly exploded and engulfed the entire battlefield. The vigorous strangling force violently strangled everything within its reach and instantly strangulated the almost 1,000 purple blood demon deity apparitions on the battlefield before all of them went poof and disappeared. The battlefield was finally left with Wu Xen, who stood there in awe. Jian Wushuang then made another move. He did not use the transmigration sword formation, but just very casually wielded his own blood mountain sword without adding in any complicated sword techniques. Nonetheless, the sword movement contained a part of divine power coming from Jian Wushuang and also 2 space-time blades. Chapter 2674. 1. Space-time blade technique was a secret technique that one could master after reaching the second stage space-time law. It was an extremely powerful technique. Theoretically, a single space-time blade was enough to easily kill a primary-level heaven ultimate god. Jian Wushuang made a breakthrough in his perception of space-time law and mastered his first space-time blade 9 years ago. In the following 9 years, he spent time cultivating the A-finger-pointing heavenly technique while also improving in his space-time law perception, which somehow allowed him to display his second space-time blade during that period. His ordinary sword movement became extremely terrifying when 2 space-time blades had been condensed in his sword. Clang. There was a loud noise and soon the purple golden fleeting light that was madly charging forward immediately went dim such that even the evolving sky godly staff was thrown off. Jian Wushuang then did a simple body jerk. It was just a simple jerk without any apparition discharged, but his figure teleported across and appeared next to Wu Xen. Why is it so fast? Wu Xen looked astonished without even having time to react. Jian Wushuang's longsword struck. Snap. Wu Xen was sent flying away and the fight was over even though he was uninjured. Thank you. Jian Wushuang withdrew his blood mountain sword and smiled faintly. Wu Xen on the other hand did not manage to react at all. The people that were watching their fight were shocked and became speechless. They were shocked when they saw Wu Xin's real strength with thoughts that Wu Xin's strength was too strong and Jian Wushuang probably had no chance of winning at all. They were even more shocked when Wu Xen was defeated in the blink of an eye. He was defeated too fast. He was able to fight head-on with Jian Wushuang for a long time when he was relying on his lost perception and principles understanding. Why would he be defeated in such a jiffy when he did his best? What could that possibly reflect? This Jian Yi, a peak earth ultimate god, unexpectedly defeated a not ordinary primary-level heaven ultimate god, but the pride of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion whose combat prowess was estimated to be comparable with high-level heaven ultimate gods. That's so unbelievable. Jian Yi, I feel like I've heard of this name before. Oh, I've recalled. A Heaven Ultimate God expert from Sacred Palace suddenly exclaimed in horror. It's him. He's the Northern Darkstar Territorial Lord Jianghu. He managed to resist attacks from 3 primary-level Heaven Ultimate Gods while having the cultivation base of a peak Earth Ultimate God decades ago, who not only didn't lose miserably but also made both Life and Death Tower and Divine Demon Sect offer a reward of 100 million primordial stones to capture him. Yes, it's him. There was an uproar from the battlefield following Jian Wushuang's identity announcement by the Heaven Ultimate God. The black-robed old man from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, Elder Teng, was closely staring at Jian Wushuang from the surrounding void, dumbfounded. It's Spacetime Blade. It turns out to be the Spacetime Blade. Jianghu, Palace Keeper Xizhen, also stared at Jian Wushuang in awe. They were startled by the technique that Jian Wushuang displayed. The Spacetime Blade was a secret technique that one could master only after reaching the second stage Spacetime Law. Many peak Heaven Ultimate Gods had never reached the Spacetime Strangulation of the second stage Spacetime Law, yet a peak Earth Ultimate God such as Jianghu managed to do it? He isn't only well-versed in Spacetime Law, but he has also reached the second stage. His divine power also isn't any weaker than an average primary-level Heaven Ultimate God. The black-robed old man's expression looked cold. This kid. His strength is far above Wuxian, but was hiding his true potential from the beginning and gradually set his traps, allowing Wuxian to fall victim in his plan to get a large number of divine elixir pills from Wuxian. What a cunning brat. Even the black-robed old man, Elder Teng, who had reached the Grand Ultimate God level, thought Jian Wushuang was cunning. He had agreed with the 1,000 divine elixir pills bet because he never thought Jian Wushuang could beat Wuxian. As a result, they fell into Jian Wushuang's trap and were tricked into giving away so many divine elixir pills. Although he's cunning, it's undeniable he's indeed very powerful. It's unbelievable that a peak Earth Ultimate God like him can reach this level of strength. This kid is an exceptional genius and much better than most of the experts from our Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. I'm afraid only one person from our Dragon Phoenix Pavilion can be his match, murmured the black-robed old man. Jian Wushuang had already stretched out his palm in the void up front. Now hand over 1,000 divine elixir pills. Wuxian shuddered as he turned and searched for the black-robed old man's gaze. The black-robed old man frowned and slowly walked up. Young man, are you Jianghu? The black-robed old man studied Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded and behaved humbly around the Grand Ultimate God. The black-robed old man asked, You're indeed very powerful. Are you interested in joining my Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Palace Keeper Xizhen, who was next to him, grunted his dissatisfaction when he heard that. Brother Teng, aren't you a bit too much? It's so hard to finally have such a genius in my sacred palace and you still want to take him away? Haha, I just casually asked. Palace Keeper Xizhen, don't be angry just yet. This young man here may not be willing. The black-robed old man smiled. I'm really not very interested in joining the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, so I'd better stay in the sacred palace, replied Jian Wushuang conveniently. The black-robed old man's face stiffened and could only smile awkwardly at the situation. Brother Teng, you'll have to give away the divine elixir pills. 1,000 divine elixir pills are nothing but a drop of water in the bucket for the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, said Palace Keeper Xizhen. Of course. The black-robed old man smiled before taking out an interspatial ring and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Little guy, these are the 1,000 divine elixir pills you've just won. 1,000 divine elixir pills are nothing to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Perhaps you can reconsider it carefully. You'll have everything you need if you join the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. You can have as many resources as you need. Brother Teng. Palace Keeper Xizhen's face sank and was getting a little annoyed. Haha, alright. The black-robed old man waved his hand again. The black-robed old man then led Wuxian into the Spacetime Palace whilst Jian Wushuang happily left upon receiving his divine elixir pills. At the Spacetime Palace. Elder Teng, I'm useless. I'm sorry to have let you down. Wuxian blamed himself. This matter isn't your fault and you're not useless. You met an extraordinary opponent. He's genuinely an exceptional genius and perhaps only one person in the entire 9 realms of Golden Crow could defeat him, said the black-robed old man. You mean junior sister Lung? Wuxian was startled. It's her, but it's a pity your junior sister Lung is too talented. She's not someone my Dragon Phoenix Pavilion can house. The black-robe old man secretly sighed. Chapter 2675. Muddy the Waters. Jian Wushuang stood in the sacred palace's void with a mischievous smile on his face while holding an interspatial ring in his hand. I went to the Spacetime Palace to see if I can gain something but didn't expect to meet those people from Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. They're so good that they send me so many divine elixir pills. Jianwu Shuang had decided to challenge the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples to a gamble fight on a whim, but the outcome was clear. What a joke. Although he was only a peak Earth Ultimate God, his combat power was definitely at the peak Heaven Ultimate God level. How can he possibly lose a gamble fight with the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples? Unfortunately, these 1,800 divine elixir pills are still not enough to help me to make a breakthrough from a peak Earth Ultimate God to Heaven Ultimate God, mumbled Jianwu Shuang. Jianwu Shuang had absorbed and refined more than 1,200 divine elixir pills to make a breakthrough from high-level Earth Ultimate God to peak Earth Ultimate God. Besides that, he had also used the divine power he accumulated for decades. Therefore, he would need much more divine power to make a breakthrough from peak Earth Ultimate God to Heaven Ultimate God. The divine elixir pills Jianwu Shuang had accumulated were a far cry from enough, as he estimated that he probably needed 5,000 to 6,000 divine elixir pills. I won't be able to make a next-level breakthrough anyway, so I don't need to absorb and refine these divine elixir pills in a hurry. Perhaps I can use it for some other purposes later. Jianwu Shuang kept the interspatial ring, but his gazes gradually became sharper. My strength should have reached the peak now. It's almost impossible to make any large progress in a short period, so it's useless for me to stay in the sacred palace. I should start my next plan. Jianwu Shuang left the sacred palace on the same day. In a hidden secret chamber, Jianwu Shuang had once again disguised himself as Su Han and used the black stone to cover up his real divine power breath in his body. He was originally only a peak Earth Ultimate God, but his divine power had already reached the high-level Heaven Ultimate God level. He was carefully looking at a document with detailed information in his hand. It was the information of various powerful sects in the Danyang continent. Danyang continent was the core of the Danyang holy domain where experts gathered. The activities within Danyang continent were complicated as there were countless sects, forces, and clans involved regardless of their size. The top 5 forces are the Crimson Stone Fort, Nanwu Palace, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower, and the Dongfang clan. Jianwu Shuang had seen information about the 5 forces before, so he naturally did not need to read further. He was looking at the information of the first-rate, second-rate, and even third-rate forces in the Danyang continent. Those forces must not be trifled with, since they were able to occupy a place within Danyang continent whereby Grand Ultimate Gods were respected, Heaven Ultimate Gods were plentiful, and Earth Ultimate Gods everywhere. Take those first-rated forces as an example. There were as many as 12 first-rated forces on the Danyang continent, and each of those forces had extraordinary strength. At the very least, they had at least 2 to 3 Grand Ultimate Gods and many experts under their leadership. Any one of those first-rated forces was not weaker than a small faction within Crimson Stone Fort. The second-rated forces were able to secure a foothold within Danyang continent from having Grand Ultimate Gods and a lot of Heaven Ultimate Gods, with quite a few peak Heaven Ultimate Gods. Some as many as 10. The third-rated forces were much weaker. The weaker ones generally had 1 or 2 Grand Ultimate Gods in charge and up to as many as 20 to 30 Heaven Ultimate Gods under their command. Moving down below was the much weaker but larger number of third-rated forces. They could be destroyed very quickly. There are 5 top forces and 12 first-rated forces with many second-rated and third-rated forces. The Danyang continent has no less than a few hundreds of forces and sects if I add them all up together. Jianwu Shuang pondered. The Danyang continent is huge, with matters looking good when the Crimson Stone Fort had absolute power during his tenure, but it's now equivalent to a big pie that everyone is trying to get a share, yet all hell did not break loose? I guess it must be the 5 top forces that kept matters in check, right? Jianwu Shuang had studied the situation in Danyang continent for a long time. The current Danyang continent was indeed very peaceful. Contention between the forces was inevitable, but fights between various forces to rake in profit were scarce. The Danyang continent managed to establish such a balance because of the top 5 forces' deterrence effect. Jianwu Shuang planned to destroy the balance. The reason Crimson Stone Fort is falling apart is due to their internal disputes being too chaotic, with 7 factions frantically competing within a single entity. They'll be surprised if Crimson Stone Fort remains strong despite all that. The top 4 forces, namely the Nanwu Palace, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower, and Dongfang clan, are all sitting back and relaxing while waiting to reap easy benefits. They are waiting for Crimson Stone Fort to wither away before striking and destroying the Crimson Stone Fort when the opportunity arises. Jianwu Shuang smiled faintly. They are currently living so comfortably. I can't let these top forces stay at ease, keep accumulating their power and get stronger if I want to help Yin Sewer. They'll have to muddy the waters and make things chaotic for the entire Danyang continent, as Crimson Stone Fort cannot be the only force in chaos. The more chaotic the better. Only when the entire Danyang continent is completely messed up will the four top forces, Nanwu Palace, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower, and Dongfang Clan, be pressured. They have their attention divided, which will relieve some stress off Yin Sewer. Jian Wushuang thought carefully. He had to find ways to instigate competition between various forces to muddy the waters in Danyang continent. He needed manpower and authority to do so, as he could not do it alone. In other words, he needed to be in control of a powerful force. It was too late for him to build up step by step, as he had to take shortcuts and exercise absolute strength to forcefully subdue one of those forces. That was why he was carefully looking at the information of each force and sect, seeking a suitable target. The easy ones are those who aren't influential. I can easily subdue one or two of those forces with my strength, but they usually have weak foundations and very few experts. Chapter 2676. Dragon Divine Sect. Many of those mediocre forces were randomly formed by a few Heaven Ultimate Gods. However, they did not have foundations or territory, hence Jian Wushuang felt it was pointless to bring those forces under his control. He would like to target the third-rated forces or above at the very least. However, the third-rated forces in Danyang continent were not weak either, as any of them had one or two Grand Ultimate Gods in charge with a bunch of high-level and primary-level Heaven Ultimate Gods under their command. It was not going to be easy for Jian Wushuang to work on them. He had to comb through the forces' information he had on hand in search of a suitable target. A name popped up after some thorough research. Dragon Divine Gang? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Dragon Divine Gang was obviously a gang from its name. There were a few like them in Danyang continent. However, the reason Jian Wushuang shortlisted the Dragon Divine Gang was not only because it was relatively weak among the many third-rated forces, but most importantly the only leader in the Dragon Divine Gang who reached the peak Ultimate God level fought with someone not long ago and was beheaded on the spot by his opponent. The Dragon Divine Gang was in a frenzy without a leader, hence it was a good time for Jian Wushuang to step in and gain control. The Dragon Divine Gang's foundation isn't weak and at least has occupied a city in Danyang continent, murmured Jian Wushuang, quite satisfied with the Dragon Divine Gang. They had a foundation and base. Although they were very weak, they seemed to have the complete package with also a substantial amount of Heaven Ultimate Gods in Dragon Divine Gang. Let's go and check it out. Jian Wushuang put away the information and headed toward the city occupied by the Dragon Divine Gang. The city was called Dragon City. The Dragon Divine Gang's lair was in the center of Dragon City. A huge black castle made of blood gems could be seen with its surface covered with various unusual beast patterns. There was also a black dragon sculpture kept in the castle's middle while circling it with its head slightly raised just above the black castle. The facade made the black castle look quite majestic. This place looks quite imposing. Jian Wushuang stood above the void and looked down at the black castle below before taking action and went straight into the castle without bothering the castle guards. At that instant, nearly 30 figures were gathered in a magnificent hall in the deepest part of the black castle. Those figures were emanating a tyrannical divine power breath at the level of Heaven Ultimate God. Most of them were primary-level Heaven Ultimate Gods with 5 high-level Heaven Ultimate Gods among the group of 30. That was the entire Dragon Divine Gang Heaven Ultimate God's level strength. They used to have a leader at the peak Heaven Ultimate God but unfortunately was beheaded not long ago. Everyone. A graceful red-clothed woman stood up and glanced at the people around her before slowly saying, "We're 3 days away from the 1-month deadline given to us by the Purple Beast Alliance. I'm uncertain if all of you have thought about it. Are we going to fight or surrender?" The expressions of the many Heaven Ultimate Gods present turned a bit ugly when they heard the woman. "Let's just surrender." A purple-haired middle-aged man, one of the 5 high-level Heaven Ultimate Gods present, stood up. "Our current strength isn't a match for the Purple Beast Alliance ever since our sect master was killed. The Purple Beast Alliance master alone is enough to slaughter all of us. We won't end well if we're still stubborn under such circumstances. Yes, the Purple Beast Alliance master could have wiped us all out but choose not to. He instead gave us a month to consider. I think he's already really good to us. We're just being ignorant if we don't surrender. Let's just surrender. Our current strength will not be able to resist the attack from the Purple Beast Alliance. We'll all die if the battle continues. I also agree that we should surrender." Many people immediately agreed with the purple-haired middle-aged man. The Dragon Divine Gang was in a dire situation and thought their best option was to surrender. However, Humph. A cold grunt sounded without warning came from a bald old man called Long Shan, who was and had always been the recently deceased Dragon Divine Gang Master's most loyal servant. A bunch of useless scum. Long Shan stood up and cursed. Long Shan, what did you say? The purple-haired middle-aged man's face turned sullen. Both of them were high-level heaven ultimate gods. The purple-haired middle-aged man might watch out how he behaved around Long Shan when the sect master was still alive. However, he no longer showed even the slightest respect for Long Shan at that moment. Was I wrong? Long Shan sounded cold. Sect master was not bad to you, was he? 90% of the various annual benefits we got from Dragon City were distributed to every one of us here, and he only kept 10% to himself. He had also tried his best to help all of you here to get whatever you wanted so that you could focus on improving your strength. The sect master has just been killed by the Purple Beast Alliance master not long ago, but all of you are giving up on avenging him and surrender at the feet of the Purple Beast Alliance. What are you if all of you aren't some useless scum? Long Shan, you're not entirely right. The graceful red-clothed woman frowned and said, of course, we want to avenge our sect master, but you have realized our current situation. How on earth can we fight against the Purple Beast Alliance based on our current strength? We're just committing suicide if we act rashly and carry on with the fight. That's right. Long Shan, we won't stop if you're loyal to the sect master and want to go crazy with revenge, but don't bring all of us down together with you, the purple-haired middle-aged man bellowed in a low voice. Long Shan was anxious, but he did not know what to say. A figure suddenly appeared in the hall out of thin air without any signs. It's quite lively here. A hearty laugh echoed in the hall as soon as the person appeared. Many Dragon Divine Gang's heaven ultimate gods in the hall were shocked and turned to look at Jianghu one after another. Who are you? How dare you break into our Dragon Divine Gang's lair? The purple-haired middle-aged man stared at Jianghu with seemingly angry electrified eyes. A high-level heaven ultimate god? The graceful red-clothed woman squinted slightly before softly said, are you from the Purple Beast Alliance? Purple Beast Alliance? No, I'm not. Jianghu smiled slightly before swiftly moving his figure and then sat down on the hall's main seat. The seat which was used to be occupied by the Dragon Divine Gang Master. A domineering voice also suddenly resounded after he sat down. My name is Su Han. I'll be the new leader of the Dragon Divine Gang from today onwards. I wonder if any one of you disagree? Chapter 2677. No chance to survive even though surrendered. I'll be the new leader of the Dragon Divine Gang from today. I wonder if any of you disagree? Jianghu voice rang in the ears of everyone present, making all the Dragon Divine Gang's heaven ultimate gods astonished. A hint of anger rose from the bottom of their hearts after a brief moment of stupor. It was not surprising they were agitated by a stranger who came out of nowhere and broke into the hall before claiming to be their new Dragon Divine Gang master. They would feel better if the person was a peak heaven ultimate god, but Su Han, who plunged into the gang leader's seat, was only emanating the aura of a high-level heaven ultimate god. Did that person who was just a high-level heaven ultimate god want to be their leader? What a joke. Your Excellency is too full of yourself. Although the Dragon Divine Gang is just an ordinary third-rate sect, not anyone can just barge in and bully us, said the graceful red-clothed woman in a deep voice. The purple-haired middle-aged man shouted in a very low voice, Humph, you're just a high-level heaven ultimate god while we still have 5 high-level heaven ultimate god here. You won't make it into the list even if we were to vote for a new leader. Get lost. The others were also glaring fiercely at Jianghu. It seems that all of you are not willing. If that's the case, Jianghu smiled indifferently and just cracked a smile. He discharged an earth-shaking sword intent before completely displaying his 10,000-mile sword world. The terrifying sword world oppressed the audience and shocked all of them. There were nearly 30 people present, with all of them being at the level of a heaven ultimate god, yet their expressions changed drastically under the sword world's shock and oppression. Its principal world. What a terrifying principal world. It's only a profound realm, but gives me the feeling that it's no less than a complete principal world realm. Oops, the deterrent effect of this principal world is so strong that it has greatly restricted my strength. Is Su Han going to attack us? All the heaven ultimate gods were frightened and were ready to take action. Jianghu made a move under their gaze. Buzz. His figure disappeared out of thin air and reappeared next to the purple-haired middle-aged man as though he teleported. This speed, the purple-haired middle-aged man's eyes went wide. He was a dignified and honorable high-level heaven ultimate god, yet incapable of reacting to Jianghu's terrifying speed. Jian Wushuang casually tapped his sword against the purple-haired middle-aged man's divine body before his figure became blurry and faded away again. Jian Wushuang's phantom-like body hurtled around the hall as he appeared and disappeared next to all the Heaven Ultimate Gods like a flickering star. Those Heaven Ultimate Gods failed to capture Jian Wushuang or organize any attacking strategy. Clang, 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 clang. There was a series of low grunting sounds when Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword tapped on all the Heaven Ultimate Gods. However, Jian Wushuang did not use his divine power, he just wanted to make them tremble. Jian Wushuang was back in the main seat again after a while with his Blood Mountain sword sheathed as the sword world that flooded the hall slowly vanished. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile and commented, "Am I qualified to be your leader now?" The hall fell silent. Almost 30 Heaven Ultimate Gods were staring at Jian Wushuang in horror. It was too fast. Jian Wushuang was too fast. They were incapable of reacting in time. In that very short time, Jian Wushuang used the body of his long sword to tap on each of them once. They would have died in that short time if Jian Wushuang used his sword's edge to cut their heads instead of the flat side. Too strong. It was too fast. He can kill us like killing chickens with this terrifying speed. Not only the primary level Heaven Ultimate Gods but even the high level Heaven Ultimate Gods won't be spared. He's only a high level Heaven Ultimate God. How can his speed possibly be so fast? It's spacetime strangulation. His perception of the spacetime law must have reached the second stage spacetime strangulation, otherwise he won't be so fast. In addition, he's assisted from the great shocking effect of his sword world. Although he looked like just a high-level Heaven Ultimate God, he's more terrifying than a genuine peak Heaven Ultimate God. It's not easy for a peak Heaven Ultimate God to kill us, but he can easily kill us. The Dragon Divine Gang Heaven Ultimate God looked at Jian Wushuang in awe. Experts were highly respected in the world. It was the same in Dragon Divine Gang. They initially thought just a high-level Heaven Ultimate God such as Jian Wushuang was not qualified to be their leader, but no one dared to think as such at that moment. Surrender or die, choose for yourself. Jian Wushuang spoke again with his cold voice at that moment as a faint killing intent filled the hall. The Dragon Divine Gang's high-level Heaven Ultimate Gods shuddered. Long Shan is pleased to meet the gang leader. Long Shan, the bald old man, was the first to bow down to Jian Wushuang and surrendered to Jian Wushuang. This old thing. Didn't he insist we should fight the Purple Beast Alliance master just now? The graceful red-clothed woman and the purple-haired middle-aged man were both irritated. They did not know that Long Shan was not courageous but only loyal to the deceased Dragon Divine Gang master and wanted to avenge his leader who was killed by the Purple Beast Alliance master. He was of course not willing to surrender. However, Long Shan chose to surrender to Jian Wushuang without hesitation because Jian Wushuang had nothing to do with the Purple Beast Alliance on top of being incredibly powerful. Those who don't surrender, are you seeking death? Jian Wushuang's cold eyes glanced at the graceful red-clothed woman and the purple-haired middle-aged man. Master Su Han. The graceful red-clothed woman took a deep breath and solemnly said, Dragon Divine Gang has always respected the strong. Anyone powerful could be the leader. Master, you are indeed qualified to be our leader based on your strength. However, do you know of the Dragon Divine Gang's current situation? Your current situation? Tell me about it. Jian Wushuang looked down. Our gang leader was beheaded by the Purple Beast Alliance master who gave us a 1-month deadline to submit to them. Otherwise, he'll kill all of us as he wants to wipe the Dragon Divine Gang out. The graceful red-clothed woman did not continue her words. So, that's the situation. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. It's easy. He'll handle the Purple Beast Alliance and dismiss them when they are here. Chapter 2678, Purple Beast Alliance, dismiss them. The Heaven Ultimate Gods from the Dragon Divine Gang stood gazing at each other. We have already planned on yielding to the Purple Beast Alliance. Our Dragon Divine Gang will naturally honor you as our leader if you manage to resolve the Purple Beast Alliance, said the graceful red-clothed woman. The purple-haired middle-aged man and the rest standing beside them also nodded, having the same thoughts as the graceful red-clothed woman. How much time is left from the due date the Purple Beast Alliance gave you? Jian Wushuang asked. We still have 3 days. A huge group of masters from the Purple Beast Alliance will arrive after 3 days if I'm not mistaken. The Purple Beast Alliance master will also be here in person, said the graceful red-clothed woman. He'll come again 3 days later if that's the case. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and immediately left with his apparitions. A racket immediately started in the meeting hall after Jian Wushuang left. Everybody, let's discuss this. Can this person really get rid of the Purple Beast Alliance 3 days later? The Heaven Ultimate Gods started discussing amongst themselves. Dong Shui, what do you think? The purple-haired middle-aged man looked at the graceful red-clothed lady. I have no idea. The graceful red-clothed lady shook her head. Although this Su Han is only a high-level Heaven Ultimate God, all of you've seen his strength displayed to the extent we're unable to resist his attacks at all. He's too fast and it's very simple for him to kill us. He definitely can go up against an ordinary peak Heaven Ultimate Gods with his speed. However, all of you know the Purple Beast Alliance Master's strength. Not only is he a true peak Heaven Ultimate God, but he's also very powerful such that our previous gang master died in his hands. Su Han won't have a high possibility of winning if he goes against the Purple Beast Alliance Master, but had at least be qualified to fight him. Aren't you just wasting your breath? The purple-haired middle-aged man rolled his eyes. I cannot judge if this Su Han can really defeat the Purple Beast Alliance Master and make the Alliance leave. However, I'm sure of one matter. It's something between him and the Purple Beast Alliance while the Dragon Divine Gang retains its middle ground. It has nothing to do with us if he's really defeated or died in the hands of the Purple Beast Alliance Master. We only need to surrender to the Purple Beast Alliance after everything ends. We'll only need to surrender to him if he's really strong and can make the Purple Beast Alliance leave with his power. Our Dragon Divine Gang won't suffer any losses no matter the outcome, said the graceful red-clothed woman called Dong Shui. That's true. All the Heaven Ultimate Gods around her nodded in agreement. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The experts from Purple Beast Alliance really came attacking them once their time was up. The Purple Beast Alliance was much stronger than the Dragon Divine Gang with almost 40 Heaven Ultimate Gods when it came to overall strength. The Purple Beast Alliance had gone all out at that moment. The Purple Beast Alliance Master had personally led around 40 Heaven Ultimate Gods along with many Peak Earth Ultimate Gods and arrived at the Void on top of Dragon City. More than 100 densely packed figures were standing in the Void. The Purple Beast Alliance Master was a more than 2 meters tall burly man with purple-colored armor. He was casually sitting on a huge purple-colored throne while engrossingly looking at the black fortress underneath him. A petite old man asked, Alliance Master, 1 month has gone by and there's still no news from the Dragon Divine Gang. It looks like they don't plan to surrender. Shall we directly take action? There's no hurry. The Alliance Master waved his hand. This Dragon Divine Gang is a third-rated clan. Although I've killed their gang leader, they still have many Heaven Ultimate Gods under their control. It'll be a waste if we kill all these Heaven Ultimate Gods. Would be able to include them into our Purple Beast Alliance if they proactively surrender and therefore once again increase our overall strength. Our Purple Beast Alliance will be considered extremely strong among the third-rated clans in the Danyang continent by then. How about this? Let's give them another hour. We shall directly take action and wipe them out if they still aren't making any moves within the next hour. Noted. The petite old man nodded before opening his mouth and spoke in an austere manner. Those from the Dragon Divine Gang, your 1-month time limit is up. Let us know if you choose to surrender or we'll wipe you out. My Alliance Master has given his orders to grant you another hour. Our Alliance will take action and wipe out your Dragon Divine Gang if you don't respond after the hour. The austere voice which came from the Heaven Ultimate God's mouth echoed mightily throughout the entire Dragon City. Many Dragon Divine Gang experts gathered in a castle surrounded by the huge dragon located in the center of Dragon City. Each of them had a serious expression on their faces after hearing that voice. We only have 1 hour left, what should we do? The purple-haired middle-aged man was extremely worried. Don't panic, let's see if Su Han will take action. We can just surrender in the end if he doesn't, said the graceful red-clothed woman Dong Shui. The Dragon Divine Gang experts could only suppress their fear and continued waiting there. However, their wait did not last long as a figure slowly rose upward in Dragon City. That figure's appearance immediately caught those Dragon Divine Gang experts' attention. It's Su Han. He has finally appeared. Let's see if he can chase away the Purple Beast Alliance. The Dragon Divine Gang experts looked on in anticipation. At the bottom of their hearts, they preferred surrendering to Su Han as the Purple Beast Alliance had previously killed their gang leader, making them resistant to the Alliance as their previous gang leader had always treated them well. Jianghu had already appeared in the Void and before those Purple Beast Alliance experts. The Purple Beast Alliance experts also looked towards him but none paid him much attention as they noticed the divine power spreading from Jianghu's body was only at the high-level Heaven Ultimate God while their alliance had several high-level Heaven Ultimate Gods. You're the Purple Beast Alliance Master? Jian Wushuang had an indifferent smile on his face as his sight directly landed on the Alliance Master sitting on the throne right in the middle of the crowd. The Alliance Master glanced at Jian Wushuang but was too lazy to reply to him. The petite old man beside the Alliance Master shouted in a deep voice. "You aren't one of the high-level heaven ultimate gods from the Dragon Divine Gang. Who are you?" Jian Wushuang replied. "I'm Su Han. Unfortunately, I've set my eyes on the Dragon Divine Gang, hence the Purple Beast Alliance can only return to whence you came from." Jian Wushuang spoke as though nothing mattered. However, the petite old man immediately gave him a strict glance and said, "How dare you? Reckless idiot. Where did this idiotic young man come from?" The expressions of the Purple Beast Alliance experts turned cold. The Purple Beast Alliance Master calmly said, "Kill him." Chapter 2679, 1/Kill. Kill him. Two figures took action at the same time upon the Purple Beast Alliance Master's order. Those two were the petite old man while the other was an evil-looking woman in black clothes, the left and right guardian of the Purple Beast Alliance. They were both extremely strong high-level heaven ultimate gods. Hiss, the void seems as though it had been pierced open as a black sword appeared beside Jian Wushuang and quietly pierced toward his heart. On the other hand, the petite old man with a golden hammer in each hand directly attacked Jian Wushuang. However, the black sword and golden hammers failed to touch Jian Wushuang's actual body but traveled through his figure instead. It was unknown when but Jian Wushuang's body had appeared in a nearby void. He seems to have good speeds. The petite young man and the evil black-clothed woman immediately looked toward Jian Wushuang. "I'm not interested in mediocre people." Jian Wushuang mocked but his eyes were fixated on the Purple Beast Alliance Master. The Purple Beast Alliance Master had extremely strong combat power among the peak heaven ultimate gods and is especially good at attacking and killing but his physical protection capabilities can only be considered normal, mumbled Jian Wushuang softly. He also obtained detailed information about the Purple Beast Alliance Master and his expert's true strength. He only dared to appear openly because he had all that information. The Dragon Divine Gang isn't weak whilst this Purple Beast Alliance is slightly stronger. I can subdue both forces, but I'll have to show my absolute strength to make both forces' experts surrender willingly. I have to kill this Purple Beast Alliance Master neatly. Jian Wushuang had a cold look in his eyes while the magnificent divine power on his body had already expanded while a huge amount of golden divine power coagulated like crazy behind his back. The 3,000-meter-tall golden god shadow appeared behind Jian Wushuang in the blink of an eye. The golden god shadow was extremely majestic as it looked down at everything in heaven and earth. At the same time, the 7-star secret technique in Jian Wushuang's body was also unleashed outward. The divine power on his body had immediately skyrocketed the moment he used the 7-star secret technique. Those below Undying Saint could directly elevate their strength by an entire realm with the 7-star secret technique scroll 2. Jian Wushuang was only a peak earth ultimate god, but his realm was directly raised to the primary level heaven ultimate god after displaying the 7-star secret technique. The divine power he emitted was that of a peak heaven ultimate god stage under the black stone's disguise. His aura has strengthened. Peak heaven ultimate god, it's a peak heaven ultimate god's divine power. The expressions of many Purple Beast Alliance experts darkened. Even the Purple Beast Alliance Master who initially did not pay much attention to Jian Wushuang also looked at him with a peculiar expression. Jian Wushuang's combat power had been raised to an astonishing level after using both the 7-star secret technique and divine god of punishment. These two secret techniques should be more than sufficient to kill this Purple Beast Alliance Master. Jian Wushuang secretly smiled. He then directly made his move. His figure had only slightly moved forward but it ended up with him directly crossing the lengthy distance and appearing in front of the crowd. The speed he burst out in that instant staggered the crowd. This speed. The Purple Beast Alliance Master was also startled. Bang! The Purple Beast Alliance Master banged on his throne's armrest as his divine power was immediately unleashed. His figure was like a primitive beast as he attacked Jian Wushuang. So what if you're fast? The battle between experts has never relied on speed, said the Purple Beast Alliance Master coldly as a domineering axe appeared in his hand. The axe could be identified as a high-level heavenly treasure as it looked extremely powerful. As the Alliance Master was about to wave the axe in his hand, Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently before him as he slowly stretched out his palm and pointed at the area Purple Beast Alliance Master was located. A finger-pointing heavenly technique. A simple finger pointing had evoked the spacetime energy around that area. The Alliance Master's figure paused in the middle of the air without any warning. Although his body paused, his face still had that hideous expression along with his one hand raised while still maintaining the action of waving his axe. However, the spacetime he was in had already completely paused. A finger-pointing heavenly technique? The divine technique Jian Wushuang comprehended for 9 years before he barely grasped it. Although he had only barely grasped the technique and his strength was too low, fully displaying that skill with his perception of the spacetime law at that moment was not something a usual peak heaven ultimate god could pull off. He could make the spacetime an ordinary peak heaven ultimate god was to fall into an extremely short stasis. The period was extremely short. It was just a moment that was even shorter than the blink of an eye. However, this short moment was enough to decide lots of matters in a fight between experts. It could be seen that Jian Wushuang's figure was unaffected at all and had already appeared in front of the Purple Beast Alliance Master. The latter remained in his axe-waving position but without the axe landing the entire time. The space-time where the Alliance Master was in only returned to normal when Jian Wushuang had waved his long sword. The Blood Mountain sword had attacked toward the Alliance Master like a poisonous snake and was only half a centimeter away from the Alliance Master's head. The Purple Beast Alliance Master could not react in time despite space-time around him having already recovered. Slurp. The cold sword flitted through mercilessly and the Alliance Master's head had flown outward as his life had started to fade away. The Purple Beast Alliance Master still had that frightened expression on his face just before he died. How can he be so fast? The corners of his mouth were still mumbling softly. He was in a situation where both space-time and his consciousness was stagnant. He had no idea about what happened during the time his consciousness was stagnant. Therefore he still thought that Jian Wushuang killed him with incredible speed. He had no idea Jian Wushuang had used divine techniques. Although Jian Wushuang was fast, it was not so exaggerated. My divine power and spacetime law perspective are sufficient to fight with an ordinary peak heaven ultimate god. I'm the strongest among the experts of the peak heaven ultimate god stage once I display the 7-star secret technique in divine god of punishment. It's very easy to kill an ordinary peak heaven ultimate god with this almost godlike a finger-pointing heavenly technique. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. The Purple Beast Alliance experts surrounding them looked extremely stunned. In their impression, their Alliance Master was extremely strong since the previous peak heaven ultimate god Dragon Divine Gang leader was directly killed by their Alliance Master. However, their powerful Alliance Master died in someone else's hands at that moment. In addition, it happened so fast. Chapter 2680, Surrender. It was really too fast. In just a short face-to-face moment, their Alliance Master's head had already been chopped off by somebody even before they had time to react. Cleanly and neatly killed by a sword cut. Why did this happen? Is this an illusion? How is it possible the Alliance Master was so easily killed? Could this Suhan be a grand ultimate god? Multiple pairs of horrified eyes were glued on Jian Wushuang's body as the Purple Beast Alliance experts were completely stunned. They were not the only ones as the Dragon Divine Gang experts inside the Black Fortress were also completely stunned. Although they already knew that Jian Wushuang was strong from early on and could fight the Purple Beast Alliance Master, they only thought he could fight against him with a small chance of winning. The result was the Purple Beast Alliance Master being killed in a short moment. A heaven ultimate god in the Dragon Divine Gang said, "Did you guys notice how the Alliance Master seemed to pause for a short moment just now as though he was completely stunned on the spot?" Yes, Suhan must have displayed some sort of secret skill to cause this if I guessed correctly. The Purple Beast Alliance Master was completely powerless to resist and was directly killed because of this secret skill. What secret skill is that? It can make a person stop completely? I don't know, but it should be a secret skill regarding space-time. The Heaven Ultimate Gods from the Dragon Divine Gang were discussing among themselves. All of them noticed that Jian Wushuang displayed a secret skill, but nobody knew which secret skill it was. They only knew it was an extremely special secret skill and played a huge part in the Purple Beast Alliance Master's instant death. It was indeed the truth. A finger-pointing heavenly technique was too frightening. Although I've previously barely grasped this skill, I've never used it against anybody yet and never totally understand its might. I've finally learned about it now. Jian Wushuang stood in the void as he was slightly shocked. He made a move to kill the Purple Beast Alliance Master for 2 reasons. Firstly, he wanted a clean kill to instigate the best shocking results. Secondly, he wanted to measure the power of the finger-pointing heavenly technique. Jian Wushuang discovered that he had belittled that secret skill after he used it. The Purple Beast Alliance Master was a peak heaven ultimate god. He was considered one of the strongest among the peak heaven ultimate gods, yet failed to withstand the attack after Jianghu Shuang displayed the A-finger-pointing heavenly technique and entered a stagnated state before inexplicably killed by Jianghu Shuang. This skill is really too powerful. Using it with just my current power, nobody among the peak heaven ultimate gods will be able to withstand it, apart from those who also have a high insight towards the space-time law. They'll be able to directly kill them, as they will be my target once they fail to withstand this skill of mine and enter a temporarily stagnated space-time state. They'll be able to wipe out 90% of the peak heaven ultimate gods with this skill. If I include my large collection of skills and hidden tricks, I can be considered invincible among the ultimate heaven gods. Jianghu Shuang tightened his grips as the piercing look in his eyes intensified. The Purple Beast Alliance Master was dead, but the Alliance's heaven ultimate gods were still there. Many among those heaven ultimate gods were close subordinates of the Alliance Master, such as the petite old man who used hammers and were loyal toward the Alliance Master. These heaven ultimate gods snapped out of their shock after a short while and reacted. He killed the Alliance Master. Kill him to avenge the Alliance Master. Attack. Many heaven ultimate gods immediately took action and attacked Jianghu Shuang under the petite old man's leadership. However, several people did not make any movements. Jianghu Shuang glanced across these people as the look in his eyes turned cold. Boom. The scary sword world was directly extended as the heaven ultimate gods attacking Jianghu Shuang immediately felt his sword world's suppression. They also activated their principal world in hopes to withstand the sword world. Although their principal world was almost at the profound achievement, their profound achievement worlds would still crumble like chicken coops under the suppression of Jianghu Shuang's perfect sword world that stretched for 50,000 kilometers. Jianghu Shuang moved his body following that. His ghost-like figure moved as though he was teleporting and appeared beside every heaven ultimate god before attacking with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. These primary level and high-level heaven ultimate gods were incapable of reacting under that scary speed. The heaven ultimate gods were mercilessly killed by Jianghu Shuang one at a time. The swords slashed out as heads were cut off one by one like harvesting wheat. The Dragon Divine Gang experts in the Black Fortress felt shivers travel through their spines as they observed the occurrences. They were extremely familiar with this scene, as Jianghu Shuang had attacked them as such 3 days ago, but with reserved strength at that time. However, at that moment, massacre. This is a total massacre. It's just like killing chickens. If Su Han had attacked us intending to kill 3 days ago, would also have been slaughtered by him. The people from the Dragon Divine Gang discussed among themselves with bated breaths. Within less than 2 breaths' time, the heaven ultimate gods who wanted to avenge the Purple Beast Alliance Master, apart from a small number of people who escaped when they saw the situation, had been killed by Jianghu Shuang. Among them included the petite old man. The void above Dragon City was covered in a huge amount of blood, with the entire place painted a crimson-red color. Bodies fell one by one and landed on the ground below before being laid spread across the ground, while Jianghu Shuang stood alone in the middle of the void with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand, blood still slowly dripping from the blade's edge. He had a cold expression on his face as his cold eyes swept through the experts of the Purple Beast Alliance who escaped to their surroundings. Surrender or prepare to be wiped out. Jianghu Shuang's demon-like voice echoed around the void above the Dragon City. Many of the remaining experts looked at each other when they heard Jianghu Shuang's words and were secretly frightened. The evil black-clothed woman who previously attacked Jianghu Shuang was the first to walk forward and respectfully said, "Lord Su Han, He Yin along with the Purple Beast Alliance experts are willing to surrender and honor you as our new Alliance Master." The remaining Purple Beast Alliance's heaven ultimate gods also said in awe, "We're willing to surrender." The Purple Beast Alliance and Divine Dragon Gang were only gangs, not sects nor clans. They only believed in honoring the strongest as their master, as they were formed by a large group of experts with no ideals of absolute loyalty. Anybody strong could be their leader. The remaining people surrendered willingly once Jianghu Shuang had shown his absolute frightening strength by killing those loyal to the previous Alliance Master like the petite old man. Chapter 2681. Sword Alliance. Jianghu Shuang smiled in satisfaction when he saw the Purple Beast Alliance experts that spread around had surrendered. He then walked towards the Black Fortress located below. In the Black Fortress, the Divine Dragon Gang experts rushed out with the graceful red-clothed lady leading them. The Divine Dragon Gang experts did not hesitate as they spoke loudly together at that moment. "Greetings to the Gang Master." "Gang Master?" However, Jianghu Shuang smiled with a hidden meaning before pointing at the graceful red-clothed lady. "What's your name?" "Gang Master, Imdong Shui." replied the graceful red-clothed lady immediately. Dong Shui and He Yin, I'm giving both of you 10 days. I want to see the Divine Dragon Gang and Purple Beast Alliance integrated after 10 days, said Jian Wushuang coldly. Integrated? Dong Shui and the evil-looking black-clothed woman were stunned before nodding with full obedience. Both Divine Dragon Gang and Purple Beast Alliance's highest authorities were willing to surrender under Jian Wushuang's feet at that moment, hence it was not difficult for both parties to completely integrate. In addition, the Divine Dragon Gang and Purple Beast Alliance shall be considered a new clan after the integration. I plan to name this clan Sword Alliance. Does anyone have any opinions? Jian Wushuang swept past the different clans' experts. It did not matter whether those experts were from the Dragon Divine Gang or the Purple Beast Alliance. All of them lowered their heads under Jian Wushuang's gaze. They had completely surrendered to Jian Wushuang so naturally, nobody dared say anything when Jian Wushuang mentioned a change in the clan's name. Therefore, the first clan that Jian Wushuang had set up in his ancient god domain lifetime, Sword Alliance, was born. In the Black Fortress, Jian Wushuang sat in the private room alone with an interspatial ring at hand. He obtained that interspatial ring from the dead Purple Beast Alliance master. The previous Purple Beast Alliance master was a peak heaven ultimate god and the ruler of a third-rated clan in the Danyang continent. Almost the entire many resources the Purple Beast Alliance owned were on him. In addition, he had also killed the Divine Dragon Gang master, hence his net worth should be quite high. Jian Wushuang immediately checked it in detail, but slightly frowned after the check and was disappointed. This Purple Beast Alliance master really had a high net worth with many cultivation resources, secret techniques, mystical weapons and treasures. He also had a lot of primordial stones, a lot more than most peak heaven ultimate gods, to the extent that his net worth would not be a lot different compared to ordinary primary level grand ultimate gods. However, the Purple Beast Alliance master did not have many divine elixir pills despite his high net worth, only 500 pieces. 500 divine elixir pills? It had to be understood that those previous gamble fights between Jian Wushuang and the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples had won him around 1,800 divine elixir pills, which was 3 times more than the Purple Beast Alliance master owned. I thought killing this Purple Beast Alliance master will get me a batch of expensive divine elixir pills. However, it seems like it won't be that easy, thought Jian Wushuang secretly. However, he was able to understand as divine elixir pills were uncommon and hard to obtain. Most resource trades were carried out using primordial stones with divine elixir pills rarely used. Just like the Crimson Stone Fort where Yin Suer controlled. She could only get him 800 divine elixir pills despite striving her hardest. In comparison, it seemed quite acceptable for him to obtain these 500 pills from the Purple Beast Alliance master. As for the 1,800 divine elixir pills he received from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion disciples, it was only because the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was rich. I had almost 1,800 pills and now I've got another 500 pieces. That's 2,000 plus pieces altogether. There's still a huge difference with the amount I need to make a breakthrough from peak Earth Ultimate God into the primary level Heaven Ultimate God. However, I'm not in a hurry. Jian Wushuang slightly smiled. He had just started implementing his plans and there were lots of chances to get divine elixir pills in the future. I have a clan under my control now that the Sword Alliance has been formed. Although it's just a third-rated clan of an area, it'll grow large enough to threaten those powerful clans as long as it continues to expand. Jian Wushuang was very confident with the Sword Alliance. To be exact, he was confident in himself. 10 days later, the Dragon Divine Gang and the Purple Beast Alliance had completed their integration and formed the Sword Alliance. The name Sword Alliance had completely spread by then. In the Grand Hall, Jian Wushuang sat on a golden throne while Dong Shui, He Yin, Long Shan, and the middle-aged purple-haired man, Zi Wang, stood there respectfully. Alliance Master, these are sent by the Corpse Palace's people. They said that both their palace masters send you their greetings. Zi Wang passed an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang. Corpse Palace? Jian Wushuang slightly frowned. Our Sword Alliance hasn't even thrown our establishment convention yet. Why did this Corpse Palace send us gifts? I don't know. They might want to greet you in advance, said Zi Wang. Jian Wushuang smiled and asked, Greet me? Our Sword Alliance is the integration of the Dragon Divine Gang and Purple Beast Alliance, so we have 2 cities under our control. We are no longer a small clan among those third-rated clans based on the land we own. Won't there be several people fixated on us? Dong Shui spoke. That isn't necessarily the case. Our domain is located at the edge of the Danyang continent and far from those huge clans. Those huge clans don't care much about this place. Although there are 5 clans near us, they are also just third-rated clans. You don't need to pay much notice to the other 4 of the 5 third-rated clans as their strength is equal to the Purple Beast Alliance. Now that the Purple Beast Alliance and Dragon Divine Gang have integrated into the Sword Alliance, we're much stronger than any of those 4 clans. Only the 5th clan, the Corpse Palace that sent these presents, is slightly nasty. Why? Jian Wushuang looked towards Dong Shui, Alliance Master. Although this Corpse Palace is also a third-rated clan, they are generally stronger than your usual third-rated clans. The Corpse Palace has more than 70 Heaven Ultimate Gods according to rumors with 2 Palace Masters. Both Palace Masters are at the Peak Heaven Ultimate God stage with one of them being the top among Peak Heaven Ultimate Gods. The previous Purple Beast Alliance Master you killed once fought against that Corpse Palace Master and was easily beaten, said He Yin. He Yin was originally part of the Purple Beast Alliance and one of the previous Alliance Master's confidants. She saw the fight between the Alliance Master and the Corpse Palace Master. The power difference was huge. Apart from that, there's also news stating the Corpse Palace deals with the Star Fort and both of them have a good relationship, continued He Yin. Star Fort. Jian Wushuang's heart moved. He did not know much about Corpse Palace but he surely knew of the Star Fort. Chapter 2682. Forming an army. The Star Fort was a second-rated clan of a location and considered one of the strongest among all second-rate clans in the Danyang continent. Its strength was close to that of a first-rate clan. The reason being their Star Fort master was a Grand Ultimate God. They were considered the first-rated clan as a Grand Ultimate God was personally attending to matters there. People normally would not provoke them unless it was necessary. This Corpse Palace is related to the Star Fort? Jian Wushuang slightly squinted his eyes. He wanted to carry out his plans and that meant frantically expanding to their surrounding areas and had to conquer turf and resources without stopping to expand their strength. The third-rated clans around the Sword Alliance were his main target, hence he would naturally go head-on against the Corpse Palace. The Sword Alliance has just been formed and there's no hurry to expand it. It's best if we first stabilize it, mumbled Jian Wushuang before glancing at the group of 4 in front of him. Jian Wushuang then ordered, Dong Shui, the many properties in Dragon City will be under your control from today onward. I don't ask for much as I only want you to stabilize Dragon City while maintaining its previous benefits without huge problems appearing. He Yin, you're most familiar with the Purple Beast City that was originally under the Purple Beast Alliance's control. I'm placing the Purple Beast City in your hands now. Ziwang, you'll be in charge of dealing with the other Sword Alliance's internal ordeals such as getting more experts and so on. All of you can discuss amongst yourself on dealing with matters that you come across in the future and directly deal with it. Only report to me when it's something important. Yes. Dong Shui, He Yin, and Zi Wang immediately took the orders. The 3 of them were slightly happy and surprised. They had no idea Jian Wushuang would give them such huge authority when he just integrated both clans to form the Sword Alliance. For each of them to manage a city while also discussing amongst themselves and resolving small and large matters was equivalent to completely assigning the Alliance Master's rights to them. However, had they not just surrendered and followed this Suhan? Why did Suhan trust them so much? They had no idea Jian Wushuang did not have the time to manage the Sword Alliance unlike them. He wanted to expand indefinitely. There would be too many issues to worry about such as the Sword Alliance's expansion and strength increase. He would not have so much time to manage these matters at that time so he ordered his subordinates early on to handle them. About the rights that he divided out, Jian Wushuang also did not care much about them. The world where the strongest had control after all. He alone represented the highest authority in the Sword Alliance. Long Shan. Jian Wushuang finally turned and glanced at the bald old man called Long Shan. Alliance Master, Long Shan also immediately greeted Jian Wushuang. He was slightly worried when Jian Wushuang appointed Dong Shui, He Yin, and Zi Wang with authorities but had not mentioned him. There's something I'd like to assign you with, said Jian Wushuang. Please go ahead, Alliance Master, replied Long Shan. I want to reassign a group of Sword Alliance experts and form the Divine Sword Army, said Jian Wushuang. Divine Sword Army? Long Shan was stunned. Forming an army? Dong Shui, He Yin, and Zi Wang also had surprised expressions on their faces. In the Danyang continent, only top powerful clans like the Crimson Stone Fort, Life and Death Tower, and Namwu Palace had formed their legions. The Crimson Stone Fort had the famous Crimson Stone Official Army. During the Crimson Stone Official Army's peak, even their most ordinary army member was a Heaven Ultimate God and they were not even normal Heaven Ultimate Gods but the best among their peers, the geniuses from every level. Any random army members from the Crimson Stone Official Army at that time were true elites. They could be described as invincible as they had high combat powers alongside their special military and magic formations. The Crimson Stone Saint had relied on the Crimson Stone official army to expand his territory when he was still alive before finally founded the Crimson Stone Fort, which occupied an entire area in the Danyang Holy Domain. Although the Crimson Stone Fort had declined and the Crimson Stone official army was not as good as they were, many clans were still extremely afraid of them. The four top clans, Nanwu Palace, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower and Dongfang Clan, had also trained their armies. Although they were slightly weaker compared to the Crimson Stone official army, they were still extremely frightening. Many first-rated clans in the Danyang continent had also built their legions or armies, but their effectiveness was low. Long Shan could not control himself and asked, "Alliance Master, our Sword Alliance has just finished the integration and just been born. No matter what, we're just a third-rated clan right now. Won't it be slightly too inadequate to set up an army right now?" "It's indeed slightly inadequate." Jian Wushuang also nodded in agreement. Apart from many strong experts, a complete legion not only needs a huge number of martial artists, but also all sorts of similar mystical weapons and treasures. The most important matter is that we also need all sorts of special military and magic formations. These things are extremely valuable. In addition, the fact that every soldier in the legion has a high salary which totals up to an astronomical number. It's not something the Sword Alliance can endure right now. However, what I want right now isn't a complete army, but only the framework of an army. Zishan, how many Heaven Ultimate Gods does the Sword Alliance have under our control right now? Jian Wushuang asked. If we include ourselves, there's a total of 54 people. 10 high-level Heaven Ultimate Gods while the rest are primary-level Heaven Ultimate Gods, replied Zishan. That's sufficient. Jian Wushuang smiled calmly. Long Shan, I need you to build for me an army that consists of 30 Heaven Ultimate Gods within a year. Only 30? Long Shan's facial expression changed for the better. It's easy. The Sword Alliance has so many Heaven Ultimate Gods, hence I only need to promise them some benefits and there'll be many Heaven Ultimate Gods who'll join the army. Don't be happy so early on. I have my requirements. Jian Wushuang smiled. Not only do I need these 30 to all be Heaven Ultimate Gods, but I also need them to have extremely strong combat powers among their peers. In addition, you also need to think of ways to guarantee their loyalty. Loyalty? Long Shan frowned. What? Is there a problem? Jian Wushuang glanced over at him. It's not difficult to find 30 extremely strong Heaven Ultimate Gods. They'll be able to entice many strong Heaven Ultimate Gods to join as long as I promise enough benefits. However, it'll be too difficult to guarantee their loyalty. In truth, our Sword Alliance isn't a clan or family that gives an extremely huge sense of belonging. We're only an ordinary clan consisting of experts joining our Sword Alliance due to benefits. There's an 80% chance of them leaving if the benefits are insufficient. We also don't have any methods to restrain them, said Long Shan. That's true. Jian Wushuang secretly nodded as he knew what Long Shan said was true. We don't need their complete loyalty if that's the case, but only their capabilities to fight for my Sword Alliance. Chapter 2683. A few tens to 100 billion, it's not difficult to make them willingly fight for the Sword Alliance but we'll need to support them with lots of resources. In another word, we've to give them the benefits they want, said Long Shan. Jian Wushuang of course knew that people work for the sake of benefits. Experts who joined the Dragon Divine Gang, Purple Beast Alliance, Corpse Palace, and even the many powerful forces in the Danyang continent were after benefits offered. They would leave once nothing grabbed their interest. However, those sects and clans were different. They had nurtured their experts for generations, hence their disciples and followers had a strong sense of belonging. They would fight for their sects and clans even when there was nothing to reap, to the extent they might even be willing to give up their lives for their sects and clans. Sword Alliance must be prepared to provide them with lucrative benefits if Sword Alliance were to win the experts' hearts. They'll find a way to solve matters about resources. All you need to do is to find a way to form an official army as soon as possible. Don't be afraid to recruit too many experts as long as you find someone suitable, as I won't be limiting it to only 30 people. We can even do 50 or 100. There are 200 million primordial stones in this interspatial ring. Use it for now and come look for me when you run out of primordial stones. Jian Wushuang handed an interspatial ring to Long Shan. Jian Wushuang had heaps of primordial stones on hand but could not possibly give all of them at once to Long Shan. Jian Wushuang had not fully trusted Long Shan after all. Yes. Long Shan took the interspatial ring with his eyes sparkling in excitement. Okay, all of you may go. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. The four people immediately bowed and left. Jian Wushuang was still sitting alone in the hall. Jian Wushuang murmured, I have never really built a sect before, hence I didn't have any idea about these training resources. However, I now know how important they are. I have a lot of resources now from receiving 1 billion primordial stones at one go when I sold 10 caddies of royal blood gems to the star-picking pavilion. I'm afraid I'll need a lot more if I were to form a decent-sized official army that's willing to fight for me. It seems that I'll have to find Yin Su'er. Jian Wushuang immediately left for the sacred palace after having made a decision. He first went for Palace Keeper Si Zhen instead of directly looking for Yin Su'er. In the palace? Jinyi, what brought you here? Palace Keeper Si Zhen asked while standing in front of Jian Wushuang. He once told Jian Wushuang to ask help from the two sacred palace elders if he needed anything, and for Jian Wushuang to see him only meant that Jian Wushuang must have some important matters to discuss. I need a large batch of primordial stones, replied Jian Wushuang. How much do you need? Palace Keeper Si Zhen was indifferent. Jian Wushuang asked for divine elixir pills when he first arrived at the sacred palace, which Yin Su'er tried her best and managed to get him 800 pieces. Palace Keeper was not surprised if Jian Wushuang would do the same for primordial stones if that was how Jian Wushuang asked for divine elixir pills. Not many, I'd like to have just a few tens and up to 100 billion of them, replied Jian Wushuang casually. What did you say? Palace Keeper Si Zhen stared wide-eyed at Jian Wushuang. You think a few tens or 100 billion primordial stones isn't a lot? Jinyi, you do ask brazenly, don't you? There was an obvious trace of anger in Palace Keeper Si Zhen's tone. What a joke. Although the primordial stone was far less rare and precious than divine elixir pills, it was used in all kinds of goods exchanges and transactions in the Danyang Holy Domain. Scorpion King was killed because of the blood gems he managed to retrieve from the blood gem mineral vein, which only totaled up to 37 billion primordial stones. It was a huge amount of wealth even for Yin Su'er, and managed to slightly lift her pressure due to that batch of primordial stones she got from those blood gems. Yin Su'er might not refuse if Palace Keeper Si Zhen asked her for 100 million to 200 million primordial stones, or even 2 billion to 3 billion primordial stones. However, Jian Wushuang was asking for up to 100 billion primordial stones. What was with his request? Jinyi, the fort master respects you as someone invited by the old fort master and ordered us to fulfill your request as much as possible to help you improve your strength, but your request is too much. Why will a peak earth ultimate god like you need a few tens or even 100 billion primordial stones? Palace Keeper Si Zhen stared at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. I want these primordial stones because I need a lot of resources to build up a force and expand it, said Jian Wushuang. Build up a force? Palace Keeper Si Zhen's expression sank before he continued. You should be aware of the situation the fort master is facing now as it is. Do you think the fort master can get a few tens and up to 100 billion primordial stones? I'm afraid she'll have to pay a hefty price for it even if she can. I know, so this time I won't be asking without offering an exchange. I'll give you something in exchange. No, it should be that I'm giving you something in hopes you can help me find a way to liquidate this thing. You'll be getting either divine elixir pills or primordial stones after disposing of this thing, said Jian Wushuang. What is it? Palace Keeper Si Zhen asked. Jian Wushuang did not intend to continue hiding it as he flipped his hand and took out a blood-colored blood gem the size of a baby's fist. The blood-colored blood gem was the second royal blood gem in Jian Wushuang's hands. The first royal blood gem was only the size of a thumb and weighed 10 caddies. The second one was the size of a baby's fist and weighed more than 200 caddies. This is, Palace Keeper Si Zhen stared wide-eyed at the blood-colored blood gem. Royal blood gem. This is the royal blood gem. Yes, it's the royal blood gem, and I think this one weighs around 230 caddies. However, I don't know how much it's worth. Jian Wushuang smiled. 230 caddies of royal blood gem? Palace Keeper Si Zhen drew in a sharp breath of cold air. He was excited while looking intently at the royal blood gem. He was also obviously coveting the royal blood gem caused by the green-eyed monster in him. Jian Wushuang also noticed the greed in Palace Keeper Si Zhen's eyes but was not worried that Palace Keeper Si Zhen would make a move. Jian Wushuang was trying to honor the agreement with Crimson Stone Saint to help Yin Su'er after all. He would be much at ease if Palace Keeper Si Zhen tried to rob the royal blood gem from him, as he could just leave and no longer paid any attention to the Crimson Stone Fort's affairs along with Yin Su'er's survival in that case. Palace Keeper Si Zhen would of course not be doing something so foolish. Jinyi, how come you have such a big and heavy piece of royal blood gem? Is this from the blood gem mineral vein? Palace Keeper Si Zhen exclaimed in a low voice. I obtained this by luck, and it has nothing to do with the mineral vein. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He would of course not admit that the royal blood gem was obtained from that mineral vein. Chapter 2684. Master Mo. Palace Keeper Si Zhen frowned but did not press on with further questions. Royal blood gem is one of the main materials for refining holy treasures. It's extremely valuable, with many undying saints wanting to get their hands on it. The royal blood gem weighs 230 caddies, so its value must be extravagant. However, it was just too expensive that many experts could not afford to buy it, said Palace Keeper Si Zhen. That's why I'll hand this royal blood gem to you so that Crimson Stone Fort can deal with it. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Jian Wushuang knew that only Star Picking Pavilion could afford to purchase the 230 caddies of royal blood gem in the entire Danyang Holy Domain. Jian Shuang had sold 10 caddies royal blood gem in the Wuxia territory at a way too low price. He had no choice but to sell it at a very low price to the Star Picking Pavilion at that time because he could not find someone else to buy it. He did not want to suffer the same losses again. In addition, he had nowhere else to sell the royal blood gem, with the only channel he could go through was the Crimson Stone Fort. The fort master must have a way to sell this off, but I'm afraid it'll take a while. How many resources are you asking in exchange for this royal blood gem? Palace Keeper Si Zhen asked. I only need 10,000 divine elixir pills and 100 billion primordial stones. This piece of royal blood gem should be worth much more than that, of course, hence I'll give the extra to your fort master. Jian Wushuang smiled. Well, I'll go see the fort master now and ask her to decide. Palace Keeper Si Zhen went to see Yin Suer immediately with excitement. Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry and waited quietly in the hall. The royal blood gem weighs 230 caddies? Yin Suer was also quite surprised when she heard about it. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes, answered Palace Keeper Si Zhen solemnly. Jian Yi has such a large piece of royal blood gem? Could it be from the interspatial ring Scorpion King gave him? Yin Suer squinted before immediately shook her head. No, Scorpion King is loyal to me and told me exactly how many blood gems he received from that blood gem mineral vein with no royal blood gems. The Scorpion King won't lie to me. If that's the case, this royal blood gem must be, as he said, he got it by chance. It's that, or he had probably hidden it in advance upon discovering the royal blood gem when the official army guarded over the mineral vein. Regardless, he got it using his own ability in any case, so we can't penalize him. It's true, as Jian Yi is still somewhat conscientious and said that he only needs 10,000 divine elixir pills and 100 billion primordial stones after we sold the royal blood gem. I'll offer the rest of it to you, said Palace Keeper Si Zhen. The price of the 230 caddies of royal blood gem is indeed more than what he asked for. Of course, it also depends on who it is sold to. Yin Suer had a cold expression. There are only those few among the 9 realms of Golden Crow who can take up this royal blood gem. The Star Picking Pavilion is the only chamber of commerce among those few. Do you want to sell it to the Star Picking Pavilion, or? Yin Suer waved and interrupted before Palace Keeper Si Zhen finished talking. Although the Star Picking Pavilion is the first-ranked chamber of commerce, they are the worst choice. They won't be able to sell the royal blood gem for a high price unless they organize a large-scale auction by gathering various experts. Any treasure can only be sold at its greatest value to those people who really need it. The people who are most eager to get it are naturally those high-level refining masters, since this royal blood gem is a refining material after all. Refining master? Palace Keeper Si Zhen was puzzled but immediately thought of someone. Fort Master, are you talking about Master Mo? Yes, it's him. A smile appeared on Yin Suer's face. Master Mo isn't only recognized as the #1 refining master in the 9 realms of Golden Crow, but also a powerful undying saint. His influence and resources are beyond my imagination. Even Father had a lot of respect for Master Mo when he was alive and didn't dare to rub Master Mo in the wrong way. Master Mo's reputation has always been good. Many people have taken the initiative to send him some precious refining materials. He'll also pay a good matching price as long as the resources are precious and rare. On the other hand, the Star Picking Pavilion only cares about profit, so they'll try to keep the price low while Master Mo won't be bothered to do so. Besides, Master Mo should be quite happy to see the royal blood gem. Correct, Master Mo will never be greedy and snatch the royal blood gem away. Fort Master can safely sell the royal blood gem to him. Palace Keeper Si Zhen nodded his approval as he had heard of Master Mo. I visit him, I can only find a way to get someone trustworthy and bring a message to Master Mo. Tell him I have a royal blood gem here. I don't know how or when Master Mo will reply to me, so. Yin Suer narrowed her eyes. Go and ask Jian Yi to hand over the royal blood gem to me. I'll try my best to deal with it, but am unsure how much time it'll take. I'll have to wait. As for what he wants, I can't give him much of the divine elixir pills if he needs that cultivation resources urgently, but I can give him 10 billion of primordial stones first. I'll give the remaining divine elixir pills and primordial stones to him after we sell the royal blood gem. Yes. Palace keeper Si Jin responded and went back to the sacred palace. Yin Suer stood with a wide beam on her face. 230 caddies of royal blood gem? Jenny, you've really helped me a lot. In a hall in the sacred palace, Palace keeper Si Jin had once again appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Fort Master requests that you give the royal blood gem to her first, Jian Yi. She'll find a way to deal with it, but it'll take some time. Meanwhile, she can give you 10 billion primordial stones first if you are in urgent need of resources. Palace keeper Si Jin retold Jian Wushuang Yin Suer's words. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded. He understood that it would not be easy even if Yin Suer personally wanted to deal with such a large piece of royal blood gem. It was normal that she needed a certain amount of time. Yin Suer promised to give Jian Wushuang 10 billion primordial stones first, which was enough for him to squander some time. Palace keeper Si Jin, there are 2 more matters that I need your help for, said Jian Wushuang again. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.